Welcome, everybody, to a Delco Nerd Network podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Ragucci, and here with a few friends in the Delaware County area, we get in a basement and we talk about a certain topic. Today's topic, of course, will be DNN's Game of the Year 2024. Here to discuss, as always, my co-host, the Triple Threat, Christopher Pasquale Trio.
Gooch, I'm super excited. I'm not going to lie to talk about some Game of the Year stuff.
Yeah.
How are you, my friend? How's it going?
I'm doing well. The weather outside is frightful.
It's
but
not.
This podcast is delightful.
It is indeed. I'm sorry. I almost cut off a very good entrance there. But it's so funny because it's actually less frightful, I feel like, than it has been in the past week.
Yeah,
in a weird way.
Last week we put out the Indiana Jones podcast, and we ended up recording that a day early because we got snow this time last week. And it's been very frigid here in
Maybe it's
Delaware
cold outside,
County, Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is the first we had 30 yesterday. I don't know if we're in the 40s today, but that's where it usually sits if you don't live in the area. Like 30s, 40s is like regular cold. I don't think we've had a winter this frigid in a long time.
I agree.
A few years. Like last year, we didn't get much snow at all.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that cold.
It really wasn't. I'm trying to think back because it's hard to even remember. I remember just being in high school before you would even pick me up, because
college we got nailed every year.
It was awful, and I feel like I remember just freezing my ass off at the bus stop when I was really young. So I just can't remember how cold it really was. But yeah, dude, it feels fucking frigid. It's getting me to the bone. The wind chill. It's like 25, but it feels like 19 or whatever the fuck they say. So. Yeah, it's frigid here in Delco. But Gooch, what's been going on, man? What have you been up to?
Before we get what we get up to, I did want to do some housekeeping.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Because we have had a shit ton of reviews go out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Nosferatu ended the year, and then we began the year with Marvel Rivals. We had Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. We've had Dragon Age: The Veil Guard, which was a solo outing by me, and it didn't break DNN view records, but most engaged podcast we've ever put out. 50 comments, and I think rising, or I think it's actually finally steadied out since we put it on. So if you've come back from that, thank you. Welcome to DNN.
Welcome, yeah.
We appreciate your view, your comment. I hope you do that here. Let us know what your games of the year are, or comment on whatever else we have going on. But yeah, a lot of game reviews. I think the only thing we didn't get to was Stalker 2, and
that's true.
Trio, I don't know if we will.
That's fair. Why, have you just been kind of working through it?
I'll talk about it. I'm finally back at it, but and I'm enjoying the game, but I'm just from a story perspective, I'm not engaged. I'm not that engaged with it from a narrative perspective to say anything. But I feel like I need to beat it and see more of the game to even comment on the gameplay of it.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So that's the only loose thread from last year. I think we've hit everything that came out last year that we wanted to review. So, and everything was later this year, which is why this podcast is later, because we were we need to play this shit. We need to get through indie. I got through Veil Guard. I got through everything I wanted to get through, actually. So if we would have done this podcast first week of January, we wouldn't have been finished stuff we're going to be talking about.
Right.
So, and it kind of ended up working out. But yeah. We're 3 for 3 for video game guests, too. We had Ben Smith with the Rivals hot take, Phil Nicosia for Indie, and Ash, Lady Insanity on Dragon Age. So.
Yeah, thanks to everyone for coming on. It's been nice to have some guests on, genuinely.
And then lastly, we're changing up how we do clips a little bit. Not really, but more so back end. So we're not posting it to all our social media platforms anymore. We're really just posting them where they do the best. That's YouTube Shorts, TikToks, and Instagram. Instagram is probably the least out of that.
Sure.
And then, if we have a guest on, I'll post the clip to that platform so they can share it. But for the most part, it's going to be those three places, and of course our Discord, which everything is posted. But yeah, we had a little powwow at the end of the year. It's all right, what are we doing? We're kind of just talking about,
just checking in,
where we want to go and that sort of thing, and the clip process is a monotonous one. It takes a while to do. And we're also getting rid of the link tree for the clips. The link tree still exists. You can still go there.
Getting rid of the way we did it before with the link tree.
Yeah, anyways. Because I think we can pump out more clips and do more with the link tree disconnected from those.
Well, exactly. And so you can still go to our link tree. It has the links to all of our podcast feeds. It has the links to all of our social medias, all that stuff. But it will just take you to that that feed now, so that way, you know, if you see our clip
It's just
or whatever,
the general feed.
it's going to be there. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can just scroll down and watch it or listen to it.
You know, if we want to do one or more clips, I guess we can. Not that we, you know, maybe we'll do that, maybe we won't. Who knows? But you know, it's easy to put up a YouTube short and a TikTok kind of relatively fast.
Right.
But yeah, doing it on everything else, threads, you know, it just got to a point where it's like, this is too much, and the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So
right,
that's it. Yeah, that I think that is it for housekeeping. But to go in on what Trio was asking me, what I've been up to, what I've been doing. Well, I've been playing a lot of shit, of course. Did you jump into the Astrobot winter update?
I haven't jumped back in since I finished. Actually,
so you're gonna go back into the Christmas time with it. But I did play that I think on Christmas Eve or the day before Christmas Eve, and it was a good time. It actually felt, I think it was better than those speedway maps, those time trial maps, because it felt like new content. Like they clearly made a lot more assets for this one, other than when I felt like the race ones, the time trial ones were just like worlds we've seen, just like different. So, and they added some new bots, so a lot of new skins.
Any favorites?
I'm trying to even remember. Honestly,
like anyone that you, I guess you feel like you really recognize.
They had a few Christmas ones, and I'm trying to fucking remember off the top of my head. And
I get. I was just curious if there was any ones that like specifically resonated with you either, that like kind of poked out. But that's still cool that they're still adding so many.
Yeah,
bots
I wonder
like
how long the support for Astrobot is going to continue. At least the free support, you know, because again, this is free.
That's true.
Nothing has been paid. But also around Christmas time, me and Kathy hop back into Played Up. We're inching ever closer toward that platinum trophy. We're literally on like the last stretch of the game where we just kind of have to progress very far.
What a girlfriend you have, Gooch, that's helping you out with your platinum. Wow,
I literally told her, I'm like, if we play this, we have to platinum it, and she's like, okay,
that's fair.
I don't think she minds.
Yeah, no,
I told her, I'm like, I'm at a point where I kind of want to be done with it. Like we've played a lot of the game,
right.
But yeah, I don't really. I'm not like, it's not.
Is it a tough platinum?
Not really. There's a lot of weird trophies that you have to kind of specifically go for. Like, you have to like set a customer on fire, and you basically just have to put a danger hob next to a person, and then it goes on fire, and then it catches him.
Right.
So it's like, but like if you were playing normally, you're probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
So, and there's just achievements for progressing. Like you get to level 10, or you know, different levels. You unlock different foods to start with.
Right.
So it's kind of just like leveling up, failing, which is like, that's how you get XP. So if your restaurants keep going, you don't like earn XP.
Right.
That was one thing I noticed, because we had a lot of like restaurants that were far, but I'm like, the last few times we played, we haven't leveled, so we're not unlocking like new recipes. And you have to, like, if you unlock hot dogs an achievement. So you have to start a restaurant with hot dogs, and then you get the achievement, or the trophy. But yeah, that's been going on. We actually played a little bit last night.
That's cool
as well. Final Fantasy IV, I finished that up. I platinumed it. I don't even really know. I was probably like just beginning it the last time I started it, but yeah, it's funny. I've never played this version of Final Fantasy IV. I've played a remake version of it they did for the DS, so I've never played like this original format. Second time going through Final Fantasy IV, and the only thing I say I don't like, and I think you'll probably agree with this, there's a lot of moments in the game where characters die and they fake them out and they come back. And I mean like 6 times.
Yeah.
6 times. Like one character stays dead. One.
Interesting.
But like a lot of characters die. They're okay. They're back, you know, and it's just like, I like the game. I think it's good. It's like the first time narrative, I think, is a real big pillar for Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy IV. But it just feels like they will easily make a character sacrifice themselves to save you, and then they just come back
so
later.
It doesn't even matter.
Right. It's like, like, you know, you have these 2 characters named Palom and Porum, and they're like little kids. They're like 6-year-old mages.
Right.
And they come with you, and there's this wall closing in on you, and they turn themselves to stone to stop it. They sacrifice themselves. It's like a pretty like emotional moment. And then they just come back.
Yeah. So it means nothing at that point.
It's
Yeah.
like, okay, we're killing kids, but like not really.
And then it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah, but and definitely like a longer one. So I have 2 more left with the Pixel remasters, 5 and 6, and then maybe we'll play. Maybe I'll play 7 again. Who knows? Who knows? And then also another JRPG I've been playing. I was talking about this last week. Fantasian, Neo Dimension. I'm in part 2, which the game it like picks up difficulty like pretty like steadily, but like fairly. This game is like very difficult, and I kind of like how difficult it is. I find it challenging. It's not like, I don't know, like a challenging where I'm like busting my head against the wall, but I feel like challenged.
No, it's a good sense of challenge.
For a JRPG, I feel like your difficulty scaling can get out of whack really fast, and it's like, well, this thing just hit me in one hit. It's not
I was going
to
say, so it goes the way like that the bosses are too tough, or like the enemy's too tough, usually. Is what you're saying.
It's not that. It's like I need to like really pin down my strategy because I'm getting far into this boss fight, but I eventually just die because I haven't figured out the fight just yet,
right.
or I didn't come in like equipped. So I need to, not just restart the boss, but go back before, switch up some things, and then come in better equipped to where I'm handling it better. So that's been good. I'm about 50 hours in. I'm toward the end of the game. I don't really know how much I have left, but I am like at the end.
Right.
So we'll see. I know the Platinum Trophy might take me a little bit longer, but I'm almost done. And of course, we both have been playing Marvel Rivals, I think. I don't really actually know.
I haven't as much in the last week or two. But yeah, definitely.
I got gold 3 in competitive, but of course kicked back into silver almost immediately. But yeah, season 1's been good. My PC performance has improved.
Good.
I had a headset issue. I fixed that. Mm-hmm. That actually had nothing to do with Rivals. It was like,
I was gonna say it was Rival specific or no. Okay.
No, it ended up being like a computer thing. I had to go into the settings, and it was like, oh, like something happened. Hit yes. Okay, right. It's fixed.
All right.
Good. I don't know why I didn't figure that out when I was first troubleshooting, but Marvel Rivals has been great. I'm having a lot of fun with that. The Lunar New Year stuff has come out. Season 1 is kind of just beginning here.
Off to the races, really.
Halfway. Yeah. Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman feel great.
Yeah. No, I need to play more. You know me, Gooch, with multiplayer stuff. It always falls to the back burner. But I did buy the Battle Pass and stuff, so I would really like to unlock all that stuff. But it's still good to know that I can go back and get it whenever I want.
Yeah. I don't know if that was something we brought up in the review, but
I think we did.
I think we mentioned it and not being too sure about it. But yeah, the Battle Pass does. You can do the Season 0 battle. Yeah, you can do the Season 0 Battle Pass during Season 1. So it's not like you lose access to that, which is great.
Right.
I hate that FOMO content. So.
Absolutely.
On Xbox, Great Circle, Veilguard, finished, platinum. Go check our reviews out
Bing, bang,
on
boom.
them. I won't talk about it. But now that those 2 games are out of the way, I wasn't playing anything on Xbox. So I hopped back into Stalker 2 after a month. was I talking? Yeah, I was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, but we didn't get really deep into it.
They fixed the A-Life system. That was totally
that's supposedly
broken.
in it now?
It's fixed.
Okay. Well, apparently it wasn't even active, right? Was the idea? Okay.
So it basically just enables. There's a lot more stalkers walking around the world, and a lot more things. It doesn't. It's
like the overall AI of the world, right? Or
as
something.
They move throughout the world and go to camp, stop, and you see a lot more in the world, and I do kind of like it. It makes it. The world is kind of empty, and I kind of like that because I think it fits the game. But like there is AI and other people, and like you're running into groups of stalkers fighting other groups of stalkers, or they're fighting mutants or something like that. And it does kind of bring the world to life a little bit.
That makes sense. Well, that's good, because I know that was a big thing people were talking about. It seemed very odd to me that wasn't active at all when it first dropped, especially considering that seems to be like a big quote-unquote draw to the Stalker series.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that they got it implemented.
and I dropped it just because I was playing too much, and it almost like, not that I did it on purpose. I just stopped playing.
Right, because it organically kind of happened.
I got indie. I wanted to finish Veilguard, and I just kind of prioritized other games. So yeah, and it organically kind of happened. And the other game I've jumped back into after a few years, Gears 5.
Ooh.
I'm trying to finish my achievements for E-Day whenever that comes out. But I got very far. So I don't have a ton. I have a ton left, but I already did a ton.
They feel manageable somewhat.
I wouldn't say manageable, but
you're halfway there.
A little more than halfway there.
There you go. Okay.
And I'm living on a prayer.
Love it.
Yeah, but I've just jumped back into the campaign. I'm doing like Inconceivable and the Iron Man mode, which if you recall, you did with me in Gears 4.
I do remember
we did
that.
in co-op.
Did we finish that?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Good on us.
So
Look me. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. You don't remember when I had to when we died and I had to delete the save?
I do
so I'm doing
remember
the
that.
same thing with that.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I did Inconceivable first, and that was I basically played on co-op and I guided myself through with somebody on beginner while my profile was on Inconceivable.
I see.
So
it is interesting that you can do it like that.
Yeah,
it's good.
It's
I guess
cheesing
but,
it.
Yeah,
but
for sure. But
yeah. I wouldn't want to be nailing my head against the wall with this. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm doing that, and I just kind of looking to boost achievements and get back in a horde and escape and master all the maps and do the seriously stuff. So I'll probably be slowly chipping at that over the next few months.
That's great.
And lastly, movies and TV. Nosferatu. Go check our review. On that. Saw that. Finished Superman and Lois. It's pretty wild how they end that show. Superman and Lois. I mean, they like, here's the rest of our lives kind of thing.
Right.
They both die.
Interesting.
So Superman, there's this plot point where Doomsday essentially like rips Superman's heart out, and he doesn't have a heart, so he's dead.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And there's this technology that General Lane, Lois's dad, like basically gives Superman his heart, like injects himself with like a basically like a Kryptonian drug that kind of like gives people powers, and then he's like gets killed by Doomsday, but they take his heart and put it in Superman, and obviously it's a human heart. There's complications from that. He eventually dies.
I see. So he only lives so long then after that, I guess.
Yeah, and Lois dies before him.
Right.
And her cancer comes back. It's kind of like sad.
Yeah.
But I kind of liked it.
It's nice to have a
just
definitive ending.
Yeah, like, okay, their sons grow up, they're powered, they become, I don't know, they never really give them names, but like super boys.
Yeah. The new Superman.
Yeah, and like Lois dies from cancer. And then Superman like stops being Superman, and he dies.
Does she have cancer from any specific reason? Like, is it just it's just she just had cancer, right?
Yeah, she gets cancer. I think in like the final 2 seasons.
Okay, I was gonna say it's nothing to do with like
no,
no. All right,
nothing to do with Clark's cum.
No, I didn't mean Clark's cum, but I meant I don't know, something Superman related.
Yeah, I mean it ends up with like a death of Superman, return of Superman kind of arc, and
I think I did see a clip of him like with crypto he has on the porch and stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
he's like, I can't believe I never had a dog or whatever.
Yeah. And like I liked Michael Cutlass as Lex Luthor. It's definitely more of like this brutalist kind of like pugilist Lex Luthor. Like he's a businessman, maybe not so much more the scientist that Lex Luthor is.
Sure.
And it was a good take.
Yeah.
For a season-long villain.
Right.
I think he was pretty intimidating. But yeah, I kind of liked seeing that chapter close. And now CW DC TV is officially done.
It's over.
And over.
Done and dusted.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
God, Gooch, though, can I just say one thing? I fucking hate his suit so much. I saw a clip of it the other day. It looks like a costume. Like it looks like a.
Is it not supposed to be?
No, it looks like a costume you'd get at a costume store. That's what I think.
It's that CW jank.
But like, it started out as technically like an HBO show, right? Though, or was it vice versa? Because wasn't it like a weird, like it had an HBO
I think you're
budget,
thinking of like the DC universe with his like Titans.
Well, I know Swamp. Yeah, maybe I don't remember.
No.
That's so.
Superman and Lois had like
always
a bigger
like a
budget.
Yeah,
but it was always a CW show.
Okay, and then it went to HBO, right? Because then it started. Well, it started showing on Max though, right? Didn't it after a while?
Yeah, I mean because that's where all the WB stuff.
Right.
is.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
But it is just funny to me also how many Superman has had so many TV adaptations. It's like
it is weird.
And Batman they just don't touch for some reason. And when they do, it's Gotham. And it's not really bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's Batman. It's very but not really,
even Titans. Like when he shows up, they don't really show Batman, and it's like it's a guy. It's what's his name. Oh, what's his name from Game of Thrones? He was great, but like I don't really see him as like a Bruce Wayne, really. I don't know. Right. Anyways, I digress. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
And I finally got back to Star Wars Trio. I started and finished the Bad Batch season 1.
How is it?
It's great.
It is.
I really like it. I mean, for light spoilers, season 1 is like, okay, the Clone Wars end. It's like, the minutes.
The immediate aftermath.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think like it's itching and scratching and answering all the questions I have as a Star Wars fan. It's like what, like the events that happen between episode 3 and episode 4 are always such an enigma. Like it really just made no sense to me. But actually seeing like they get back to Kamino and like the war's over and the clones are like they watch the I was gonna say Darth Sidious, but Palpatine's speech of like the first galactic empire. They watch that and they're like,
like we won.
Yeah. And then after that, Tarkin's right on Kamino, like Project Warpath, War Mantle.
Like it,
Basically, Operation War Mantle is they're basically getting rid of the clones and instituting the TK troopers, which are conscripted soldiers.
Right.
So
why do they say that again? Is there a reason that he gives? I'm trying to remember Tarkin. He's like, it's cheap.
I think it really, like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why would they want to conscript soldiers? They're making obviously, the DNA is getting diluted, and the Kaminoans know that.
Right.
But, like, they're cloning, like, one of the best fighters in the galaxy at the time, who was Jango Fett.
I feel like they do maybe explain it more.
They do, and it's just the fact that, like, this was the Republic.
Right.
We are the Empire now.
So we need to be
We are moving away from what the Republic was doing. That is really it.
That makes sense.
But Tarkin is, like, clone racist, essentially.
That
he
makes
doesn't
sense,
like clones. There's a few episodes with him in the Clone Wars where he shows, dismay toward the clone troopers. But what I don't understand is where do all these assholes come from all of a sudden?
Which assholes?
All these like higher up Empire people that are just dicks. Like, were they always in the Republic? Like, where did all these folks come from?
I think they just kind of started promoting the worst. Is the idea almost immediate? Like they're like, okay, all right, you're not in line. No, get out. All right, you're in. Let's go.
Yeah,
that's a fair point.
There's an Admiral Rampart character who's kind of like another one of like I don't know if he's ISB, but like a higher up Tarkin level admiral who's like a dickhead, and it's like, where was he in the Republic? Like,
I think the idea is they're all kind of almost jaded immediately. They're like, the fucking Jedi just tried to kill us. They just tried to do a coup. The Emperor saved us. We're with him. So whatever you guys are doing here, he's saying this isn't cool. That's not cool.
Yeah, so, the Bad Batch, like, immediately, like, leaves the Empire, except for Crosshair. Crosshair is the one who stays back, so there's kind of that...
he's got a great voice. It's so good,
Yeah. D. Bradley Baker's voice.
And then,
for Crosshair.
what's Omega? How do you like Omega?
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah,
I'm curious, like, where they're going with her. Is she like force sensitive?
Sure.
Like, what's going on with Omega? Like, what her deal is?
It's a satisfying conclusion for her.
It fits in nice. I think it kind of gives them like a different kind of foil, but they're still clone troopers.
Yeah.
They're still like acting like clone troopers, and I like that.
You got a lot to go. That's awesome. You got all 3 seasons to go through. It's really good. You're gonna like it, especially considering how much you like the prequel era.
Yeah,
stuff.
and they get into the Ryloth, and that was an arc from the Clone Wars that they're bringing in with Harrison Dula's dad, and like Harrison Dula's in this, and it's showing how she becomes a rebel and a pilot. Yeah, and it's just cool how they're like mercenaries and like guns for hire, and they meet up with some clones, Rex being one of them, and Cut, I think, the one who like deserted in the Clone Wars. And there's an episode about him, like they meet up with him because he's been disconnected from the troopers. But yeah, like they get to a planet and like the Empire's already there, and they're instituting like chain codes and like all this stuff, and it's like interesting to see this transition out of Republic into Empire. The TK troopers, they're using the early Ralph Quarry designs for their initial helmets as they change the armor.
I think it's their whole armor set. Yeah, the whole design is. Yeah.
It's
very cool.
Yeah, I mean, like transitioning from like phase 2 clone trooper to
Stormtrooper.
Right.
Yeah. It's nice to see that in between.
Yeah, and it's like me being like, oh, I don't like the fucking Stormtroopers, but I like the clone troopers.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really just digging it, and I'm interested to see like and the early TIE fighters, they're using them, but they're still using the clone transports. Like, when do they get rid of all that stuff? And like that, they're kind of answering those questions.
It's funny because like honestly, that and like Andor really are the only things that are, I feel like, almost what the prequels kind of wanted to be, like how the bureaucracy of the Empire was set up and how this almost was instituted and how you transition from this Republic to this awful Empire, and how they really illustrate it well in those 2 series especially is fantastic. I'm glad you're enjoying it because I do think it's really awesome.
I'm just like, I'm kind of just like, I mean, I got Rebels afterwards, but I'm just like upset that it like ends.
Yeah.
You know, like I just really like being with the clones.
Yeah, and I don't
There's
really love
something about it. I think it's like the way they look
No,
and
I
the way
agree.
they interact and like they give each other names and like there's something
a great
about
vibe.
it that I just, you know,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I love the prequel movies. I just love the Clone Wars era.
Right.
And it's like as soon as we get out of it, I start getting like,
Sure.
And
Do you really like that era, that time frame, that aesthetic? Right? Yeah. And
'Cause, I mean, it
everything
is
goes
what
along
I
with
grew
it.
up with.
Right.
You
No,
know,
absolutely.
You know.
And I mean, yeah.
I should
totally,
say.
absolutely. And I'm very much on that same side of you. I don't think I lean that heavily. I enjoy a lot of the prequel stuff, but I do think when you get something really well done from like the original trilogy era, like an Outlaws, for instance, like it is just as satisfying to me. But they're still both great.
The only other things we have that we hadn't talked about is like the cloning stuff,
Right.
And how they take one of the Kaminoan scientists to do the stuff they were doing in Mando. So
Right.
it's cool to see that thread.
Yeah, it's the you'll say. Yeah.
Fennec Shand, obviously. I think when they pitched her originally, what was she in? Was she in Mando first, and then Book of Boba Fett?
I think so.
Because then they were like, "Oh, she's gonna appear in the Bad Batch."
I thought she was actually in like an animated character before she was a live action.
she's in
one.
season 1 of Mando,
Right.
Remember?
Okay.
Yeah, and
But
then
she's not. That was the first time she appeared ever.
Yes,
Okay.
and then they were like, "She's gonna be in the Bad Batch."
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that makes
and then
sense.
she's in Book of Boba Fett.
Got it.
Yeah, but seeing her is cool. Ming-Na Wen is great.
She is great.
And then watching Cam and Topeka City on Camino get destroyed was like,
Whoa.
it's the end of an era.
Yeah, no, it
like
is.
they're getting rid of the clones, full stop,
Destroying it all.
Get rid of it all.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's like the final episode is that, and it's like like the Empire is moving,
done.
is moving away from
Yeah.
the clones.
It's
and
done with that, yeah.
And but I like how the TK troopers are getting trained by clones.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. But I'm looking forward to season 1. I have started Castlevania, by the way, but only 2 episodes.
Oh yeah,
in.
I need to start.
So
I actually
we're gonna review that next week.
I'm glad you said something because I'm going to start that when I get home today. Actually.
Yeah.
Great.
Two more things.
Yeah.
Continuing my trend of watching some Studio Ghibli movies. Grave of the Fireflies. It's a World War II. It's a World War II movie.
I do want to get around.
It's
to some of
very
these.
depressing. It's in line of Dunkirk, where it's a World War II movie that's different.
Sure.
Like it's not about the war of World War II. It's
more about the people.
2 kids in Japan living and like suffering
During this
from
war.
World War II. Like, they're getting firebombed and people are getting killed and it's sad.
Yeah.
It's fucking depressing, but very good. Honestly, one of my favorites from Ghibli. And then I'm watching these in release order, and then My Neighbor Totoro, which is like a classic Ghibli movie. Fucking great.
Yeah, these are definitely a blind spot for me. I would love to get. They
I
always look
think
beautiful.
your girlfriend would like them too.
I'm sure,
Even
yeah,
though,
yeah.
like, I don't know if she likes anime or
Sure.
likes that aesthetic, but like, My Neighbor Totoro is fucking cute.
Yeah.
And there's like not much to
And
argue with.
she loves animation just in general.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
No, she
It's
definitely
like, these are 8 movies from like 88, and they look great.
They do. I mean, every time I see them pop up, because they're all on HBO, right? Or
Most
or
of
a
them
good
are,
bit of them.
yeah.
I keep
Yeah.
seeing them pop up on there, and they always pique my interest.
Yeah.
That's great. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it?
Sorry, that was very long.
No worries. I like it.
I'm always
I don't have a ton.
long-winded. It always starts with like nothing, and then it like
Also, though, we do
really-
these like every month, like once a month, though. So it does kind of build up. That's just kind of
Yeah.
how it goes. I feel.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
guess I
let's-
just play a lot,
Oh, that's true. And I tend to just kind of bounce around, and there's not necessarily things I have to say about everything I'm playing all the time. But let me start out here with some games. So I finished up Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
Nice.
Bit of a mouthful. Finished it up last night. Was about, I don't know, 10-hour campaign. Gooch. Warhammer's pretty
10 hours?
I think so. 8 or so, 8 to
That's
10. I
it?
want to say, yeah, that was it. I mean, it's they're supposed to be mostly leaning into the the multiplayer. That was another reason I didn't buy this when it first came out. I was like, all right, this is gonna be like an 8 to 10 hour thing. I'm just gonna have a little bit of fun with it and get through like a pretty cinematic campaign. And I think it's really well done. I know next to nothing about the 40K universe of Warhammer.
Neither do I.
But the aesthetic was freaking gorgeous. It was this like gothic, futuristic, like Knights of the Round Table type shit, mixed with like religious zealotry. It's really cool. The gameplay itself is fun. It's a lot more like not combat, melee focused than I realized.
Okay.
Like you have your main weapon, but then you also have your melee weapon, which they have like a hammer, they have like a chain sword, they have just a regular sword, and then there's like a different kind of like power sword. And they really kind of want you to switch between that melee combat and the range combat pretty organically. And it just happens during combat, and you're dealing with a lot of these big bosses. It's a really fun game. I'm sure the PvE and the PvP stuff would be even more fun to get into. But overall, I would recommend it. Do I think it's worth $70 if you're going to just play the campaign? Probably not. But it's a great looking game.
The co-op is like a totally different experience, right?
Probably. I mean, I don't think so. I think it's just the main campaign, but you're just playing it through with everyone, like with 2 other people, because you have a squad.
I thought it was like a different perspective of the main campaign.
So there's one mission that you can play that is a different perspective of the main campaign. There might be more of those. I haven't really looked into it more. I actually haven't even like opened up that menu yet, because it does tell you when you're going into, I think it's like the 3rd mission. It's like, you have this other squad that's working on a different part of the mission, and it's like you can play this mission and you'll re-experience this side of the mission. There might be more than that. I don't know.
And is there a multiplayer?
There is. There's a multiplayer suite. There's PvE too, apparently. I don't have PlayStation Plus right now, so I didn't really fuck with it. I'm sure that there's a lot of fun stuff going on there. That's kind of a whole element of the game that I didn't really get to explore, so I can't really speak to it. I don't know how they've been doing like content update wise. I haven't really heard much about Warhammer, I feel like, since it dropped. I mean, it did really well. Obviously, when it did, I felt like I was hearing a lot of rave reviews, but I'm curious to see how the multiplayer is holding up. But if you can get this on sale, like $30-$40, I think it's worth it, for sure. I don't know if I'm going to play it again, though, soon, so we'll see. Other than that, I started up, Gooch, Ninja Gaiden Black 2.
You did?
I did. I downloaded it. Because I have no...
Why?
Because it looked cool, and it was free, and it was on Game... Not free. It's included with Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot.
They shadow dropped that with talking about Ninja Gaiden 4 at the Developer Direct this past Thursday.
I know nothing about this series. I never played it before. The trailer looks cool, so I was like, fuck it. I'll download it and try it out. I started the first mission up. So I guess it's a remake or like a remaster with the old engine running underneath it, is from what I understand it.
Yeah.
So it is funny because I was like, this is like looks brand new and it looks great, but I'm like, it kind of feels old
like
in a weird
early 360
like,
game.
but it's not
that's
like
what it is.
It is, yeah, and it's like not in a bad way necessarily. It's just like you can just feel it, like the way your character moves. It's a bit more floaty, but just learning how to dodge and attack and block and just play the game has been interesting, because it's not Dark Souls, obviously. It's not a Souls-like game, but like this almost feels like the precursor to what Souls-like is in a weird way. I don't know why. It's just the way that you are like going after like many enemies at the same time. It's pretty hard, at least from what I'm understanding. It's not nearly as hard as Dark Souls, don't get me wrong. But it takes a lot more finesse than I was expecting. And I gotta say, it's a lot of bloody fun. It's a lot of dismemberment and a lot of cool, just random ninja stuff. I'm not very far into it, but I am definitely going to continue to play it. And then after that, Gooch, I've just been on a bit of a Bethesda kick again for some reason. I don't really know why. I started up Skyrim, another playthrough for just no good reason, and it's been a lot of fun. I have been messing around very heavily, though, with the survival mode, which is kind of interesting, actually.
Skyrim?
Yeah. So
I didn't even think I knew there was a survival mode.
So I think they added it with like the...
Or I just missed it.
Yeah.
Or I knew about it and I forgot.
It's part of like the upgraded edition or whatever.
The anniversary 10-year, yeah.
And it's really making me engage with a lot of systems I just didn't even realize existed in that game, especially when it comes to food. I mean, you don't really have to eat food in that for the most time. It helps with your healing.
Oh, I ate.
But like,
I ate 70 cabbages all the time.
See, I feel like I never kept food on me because I always had enough potions. So like, I would always just.
Also, I cooked.
You did? See, I never did that.
You never engaged with those systems? I never
engaged with those systems whatsoever. And like now that I actually have to like, you have your food meter, you have your hunger meter, you have like a clothing meter that like, depending on how cold or hot you are.
Oh.
So like,
why didn't I do this?
And you can't fast travel now. So it's all, yeah, it's a lot of fun, I gotta say. And it's really making me play the game in a way that I've never played it before.
Can you turn it off?
Yeah.
Like
you can kind of, I kind of have been finicking with it a little bit.
Like just
when
turn
I
it off fast travel and
yeah,
turn it back
yeah.
on?
If you really want to fuck with it that way, you can.
Yeah, Skyrim's difficulty is fucking horseshit to begin with.
Yeah,
so.
So you can kind of fuck around with it that way, which I have been. But for the most part, I've just been using like the carriages to get back and forth to like the main cities and kind of traveling out from there.
You know,
but it's cool. It really is, man.
I was thinking, I know I played it a few years ago, and we did a podcast about it. If you want to check that out,
yeah.
Something like what would Bethesda learn from Skyrim 10 years later?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 11 years later. You know, if I ever wanted to play it again, I'd probably boot it up on PlayStation, you know, get all the trophies and stuff again. But I would definitely think about doing that mode.
Yeah.
And experiencing that way. And I honestly, I think committing to... Somebody told me that they think archery is the best in Elder Scrolls. It, like, feels the best.
I kind of agree.
And I think I would, you know, I always kind of play the same builds. I always fall into the same...
It's just how it
Gooch
works.
pattern.
Yeah.
And I think I would commit to being, like, full archery. Like,
that's a good idea.
yeah.
I'm doing like I'm doing mostly magic right now. I do, but again, like there is that problem with Skyrim where you almost need certain skills for certain quest lines, like unless you just don't want to do them. Like if you want to do the Thieves Guild, you have to have a bit of stealth to get through a lot of those missions. So you kind of have to build your stealth up at least a little bit almost to get through that. Whereas I would like a way around that in different regards. I was messing around with alteration and illusion a lot, and those have a lot more spells than I realized they did. Especially when you get to master. Like,
yeah, I know it's been a
like
while
that.
since we did that podcast, but they added a lot of skills to all the trees that kind of flesh everything out.
Did they add skill points? I know they added new magic. I didn't realize they added like new skill points and stuff like that. That's cool.
Oh,
because they added
I'm
new
sure
like
they
spells.
Did yeah,
But I think the skill trees themselves have remained the
skill
same.
tree, yeah.
But
I didn't love those skill trees when I went back. I remember being like,
yeah, they're basic. You know, I think it's of their time in that respect. Yeah. But I've still been having a lot of fun. Again, it's been making me engage with the side of the game that I have never engaged with, even though I've played it 8 to 10 times probably already again. Skyrim's still a ton of fun. And you know what else is a lot of fun, Gooch? Fucking Fallout 3. I don't know why. I was just like, I saw it on my console. Actually, I do know
I noticed
why.
you popping achievements. Where did you play it the first time?
I don't know. That's the funny thing.
Sure you haven't played it?
I have definitely played it. Because I know...
Did you beat it?
I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. I don't know. Because I do remember things from it. Like, I remember like your father getting killed. And then I remember how the end... You have to choose who the water goes to, right, for the Commonwealth.
Right, and then that's where like the game just ended.
Kind of ends,
then with Broken Steel, they
open it back up, yeah.
Right, yeah, because a lot of people were pissed off.
Yeah, they're like,
that.
what the fuck? They kind of do that with Fallout, even New Vegas, right? Like, doesn't that kind of just end with the end?
Yeah,
but
yeah, they do that with New Vegas too. But they didn't do it with Oblivion.
Right.
So
yeah,
I think a lot of people came off of Oblivion and Skyrim.
Well, Oblivion was before Fallout 3, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So like when people beat Oblivion, you can still
Right.
play Oblivion, and then now that Bethesda had the Fallout IP, I guess they expected it to kind of be a similar experience.
Yeah.
It's like, I beat the game, but I can't keep
yeah.
playing. Like, you just have to, like, leave
That is odd.
the thing.
But Fallout 3 has been an interesting ride again. It looks really good on the update, whatever they got going on the Xbox Series. It just looks way better than I remembered, to be honest. I thought it was going to look way shittier.
I did like a mod playthrough in college, and I didn't love it. I think mods can really fuck with those games.
Because it almost doesn't feel like you're playing it again.
Yeah, it feels like you're playing like a different version of it.
Like a facsimile, almost. Yeah,
like
I know exactly what you mean.
I get that people want to mod Skyrim and Oblivion to like, the nth degree, but like I feel like it does kind of like change the game.
No, I agree. And even, I don't know, with Fallout 3, I do think there is something to how different it is just combat-wise, too, because it's so made to just use VATS. Like, trying to... The combat in that is really probably the worst part of that game for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's Oblivion's combat.
Yeah. And even like Oblivion felt like going back a little bit better to me, whereas like it felt like I could fuck people up. Whereas in, I don't know, Fallout 3, I feel like I'm level like 15 right now, and I just got to Point Lookout. And I guess I'm probably lined up level wise, but like I have these really heavy, like good weapons that aren't really doing a lot of damage to, I feel like, low level people. And maybe it's just because I'm in a hard area. I don't know. But some of that balancing feels odd. But Skyrim itself, man, getting back to that really quick, definitely would recommend checking out the survival mode. There's a fishing part of it now too. I haven't messed with that at all yet.
Yeah. It also,
but it's been a lot of fun.
Goes into the cooking.
Absolutely, and yeah, the cooking's. That's just something I never ever touched.
That's
before.
crazy.
I never felt the need. I always had potions. So like, why do I need food? You know, I don't know.
More potions.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But then it's weighing me down more. Why not just get more potions?
Yeah.
You know. Anyways, and that's kind of been it game wise. We finished Indy. Like Gooch said, you can go check that out. And I'm still kind of working away on Sly Cooper, but we talked about that last time. That's just happening slowly but surely. I would like to get to those so I can play 2 and 3 at some point. But movies and TV wise, not a ton, just 2 big ones. Silo season 2 finished up. I will say, I think season 2 was a little less strong than season 1. It was a kind of like a strong start to it. Then the middle was a bit like meandering, didn't really know where we were going. And then the last 2 episodes really fucking hit hard. And they made a very interesting choice in the final episode with how they're moving forward. I'm very curious to see how that's going to turn out. We have 2 more seasons left of Silo. Apple TV, you guys are killing it. I can't wait for more. And Rebecca Ferguson, you could do terrible things. Yeah, indeed. She's the best. She's so good in it. I do feel like she was a bit underutilized this season, the way they broke it up. But overall, it's just a very interesting show. I think you should definitely watch it. And then also, speaking of Apple TV Plus, Apple TV, whatever it is, whatever they're calling themselves now, Severance season 2 started, Gooch. Not going to get too much.
A lot of people are talking about it.
I got to give that marketing team credit, man.
I don't remember season 1 being this big. I remember it being on, and I remember, but yeah, a lot of people seem to be watching season 2.
Well, and I think season 1 was that was where it was just, they didn't know what they had yet necessarily. They were like, they probably thought it was really good, but then everyone kind of caught on. And even now, getting into season 2, man, I cannot wait to see what they do. I think this is one of the most interesting and terrifying concepts for a show. I've talked to you about this before. If I could only ever be conscious when I was at my job, I would kill myself. I don't like that would be insane. It's like this special kind of like current day hell that just, it wouldn't make sense back in the day. It's so specific to the modern age, which I really love. Adam Scott is fucking awesome.
So Ben Stiller produces this.
And writes it. Yeah, and directs it.
It's funny, like I saw him and I'm like, I guess he must have really like got out of acting.
Well, I think he kind of moved more into the production side of it. Yeah,
because I'm like, when's the last time you saw Ben Stiller in a movie?
Well, and I feel like
and he was big when we were kids. Dude,
he was Zoolander, all that shit.
Meet the Fockers, like all those. Meet the Parents, all those movies. Maybe Night at the Museum 3 was the last movie he was in. That was Robin.
And I'm sure that there was more. I'm sure there was Walter Mitty too. I don't know if that was after.
Yeah, the Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Yeah,
I'm sure there's other things he's been in. But yeah, he's definitely seems to have taken more of a directing role. And I mean, we even saw that. I mean, he wrote Tropic Thunder. I always forget about that, which is hilarious. And he directed that.
He's not in it though, right?
Yeah, he is.
Oh no,
remember? Yeah, he's the man.
Of course, Simple Jack,
Tug Speedman. Come on, or is he Tug Speedman? I think he is.
He's
Come
Tug
on, Tug
Speedman.
That's his name, isn't he? Tug Speedman. Ben Stiller's character's name in that?
Anyway. I was thinking of Les Grossman.
Oh, Les Grossman. Oh God,
that movie is fun. We
that would be a fun rerun. Comedies are I feel like
I think
tough to
I've been
review,
thinking.
But, yeah.
I was like, what if we just did like comedies and we did like, I don't know, like you go from like Tropic Thunder, Step Brothers. I feel like there's an era we can easily pull from. But
that's true. But yeah, Severance it's just such an interesting concept, and they've done a great job marketing it. That thing that they did in the Central Street Station or whatever it means, that was really good. Everyone was talking about it. I keep wanting to tell thank you. I wanted to keep telling everyone I know about it just because I started watching it and I was like, I can't stop. It was like 8 days.
Well, you know me. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I would love to see because
I don't know what it's like recommending me things that I just like. I'm so abrasive towards anyone's recommendations to a degree.
Sure.
Where I just like I hear it and I believe you, but that doesn't mean I will drop everything to go do.
Oh, and
I have such a
that
way.
Makes sense. No, I think
such
that's
a way
reasonable.
Of doing things and like
I'm not. Yeah, I almost there is something.
Kathy
to someone.
is actually like the exact same way as me.
Yeah,
which is funny. Like I'll like recommend her a game and like she'll like be like, oh yeah, cool, but like she's not gonna like stop everything she's doing.
Of course, and I think anyone who expects you to do that with a recommendation, what are you doing? Yeah, of course. And recommendation is just that. I'm gonna maybe check it out. But watch Severance, man. It is really fucking good. And Adam Scott, I just did not realize how good of an actor he is. The way he has to just kind of switch between, they call them their innie and their outie, which is basically the idea of the show, for anyone who is not aware, is that your memories are basically, the idea is they're medically severed. And what that means is you have two sets of memories. One that is only active while you are on the job, and one that is, and your normal day life that is active when you're not at the job. So when you arrive at work, you go down an elevator, and then you basically, to your knowledge, immediately wake up at the end of the day, exiting the building. So you have no conscious idea of work, whereas your innie is just stuck at work every day. They never get to sleep. They never get to see the sun. They never get to see the outside world. They just work and then come back and work again.
Right.
And oh my God, what a hell. Check it out. Love Severance. I wasn't going to mention this one, but we've actually been watching a lot of it. So, and I think it's been a lot of fun. I want to recommend it. Pop Culture Jeopardy on Amazon.
Oh, yeah. I know that's. Do you watch Jeopardy?
No, I never really did before. I was always like, I would pop it on here and there, like with my parents when I was younger. I think it's a lot of fun. I like understand the concept.
Yeah.
But we saw it on. Colin Jost is hosting it. He's actually very good. I never was like a fan or not a fan of him, but I actually really like him on the show. I think he's very funny.
Do they just release a bunch of episodes, or is it on?
It's like 3 every week, I think. They release.
Yeah, that's it. Like I saw an ad for it while watching Jeopardy. I'm like, that's an interesting way to do a Jeopardy spinoff. That's like a different way to consume Jeopardy that isn't, 7:00 on weekdays with Ken Jennings.
It's really cool.
It's interesting. I got to check it out.
I will say, like, some of them we'd kick ass if we went on there, but then there are some panels that show up where I'm like, I'd be fucked on every single one.
Who are the people coming on?
It's just randoms, like contestants. No
random families.
Right? Yeah, families are like.
I noticed
it's groups of 3, so it's all, but they're like friends or family. Whatever.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So it's not like a celebrity thing.
No.
Interesting.
And yeah, it's really good. Like I said, there's some I'd be totally screwed on there.
Is it a bit more casual too?
I would say so. To be honest, I don't really have a good reference
Jeopardy
to the normal
is a pretty
Jeopardy.
Serious game.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more casual for sure. Yeah. Then
like they're. I mean, they're playing to fucking win, and they're following the rules. It's not like you're going outside. Like you have to say like what is.
Yeah, definitely.
Are people like forgetting to say that? Or
no,
like,
not for every one. Someone might like be like, oh, but then they'll say to me, and if they do, they won't accept it.
I saw the set, and it's very like colorful.
Yeah,
it's much different than like the Jeopardy set.
It's fun. I like it a lot. It's been an easy kind of time killer for me and my girlfriend, especially if we're hanging out and we just don't want to watch something a little mindless. So definitely would recommend it. Colin Jost, a lot of fun. And I think that does it though for me, Gooch, on what I've been doing, playing, watching. All that stuff.
Let's get into why you're here. Our game or games of the year. I want to thank everyone who participated with the forums. Those are always really challenging. It is very difficult to get people to engage with those. So if you did write in, I appreciate it. I did have like a number in my head that I wanted to hit with them, but we didn't hit that. That's fine. But yeah.
But we appreciate you all that did.
Yeah. And if you don't, try to engage with us a little more. Leave some comments. Look at our social media posts. Get in the Discord.
We do appreciate it, but you don't have to. Whatever you can. The likes the easy one.
I want you to write in the comments.
Do it right now. I swear to God. We'll wait.
We'd appreciate it.
No, but genuinely, yeah, that stuff just helps with the algorithm for sure. Especially the like is the easiest one for sure. If you can throw that on the bottom, it's a big help. But I digress. Gooch, I'm ready to talk a little game of the year.
Yeah. So our first question, of course, as always, what are your games or games of the year and why? I guess I'll be like interspersing with ours and going to the write-ins and stuff like that. So we'll see how this goes. Sure. We don't have to have a rhyme or reason. Do you want to start?
Sure. All right, Gooch. I think after a bit of deliberation, there was between 2 for me, I think, this year. And I think it did come down to it. My game of the year is Star Wars Outlaws.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're giving a game. I don't know if I'm giving a game.
I think I am going to give that my like. That's like I think my top one of the like. It's barely because I think Indy was truly fantastic and was right there for me. But Outlaws really kind of hit everything I wanted from a Star Wars game. I think it brushed off that stagnant stank of like the Ubisoft open world that you explore in the exact same way every time. It felt very organic. It felt very natural. I enjoyed the story a lot. I thought K and D, especially their chemistry together, was super compelling. Everything was appropriately grimy, as it should be for the original trilogy era. It just felt like everything was spot on, and I enjoyed my time with that game thoroughly. I can't recommend it enough, especially if you can get it on sale. I think it's a grand old time, but that is not to say that indie isn't a great time, and definitely comes in at a strong second for me as a game that genuinely probably shouldn't exist and shouldn't have done as well as it did, and I'm so happy that it does and it did. So really great stuff.
Just those two.
I think, are the stand-up.
This year.
Don't get me wrong. Like, there's there's more that I could definitely name that I had a lot of fun with. I guess I'm just thinking more from the top tier, the ones that really kind of stuck with me this year. Because I was trying not to almost go back and look at what came out. Like, I was trying to just think in my head what really was I was remembering it very fondly. I think Stellar Blade's definitely up there too.
Yeah.
What else? There's definitely a few more that I could look up and be like, oh, that was amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of hard. It's I wanna spotlight games that I really enjoyed, but I have 6.
Sure.
And I think 3 of them are probably top tier.
Right.
And then the rest 3 are more so honorable mentions, but games that I think really just, like you just said, stuck with me.
Yeah.
So I'll go I'll go out of order a little bit, and I'll start with you. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle was also on mine. I think that game was also one of the big surprises for me for this year, where I just didn't expect this game to resonate with me like it did. The gameplay genre took, the immersive sim angle, I think really worked for me and really made it a game that I want to see a sequel of. We're getting a DLC of, which I didn't know until that review, and then I looked up and I was like, oh yeah,
that's cool.
this DLC has already been planned. So
that's cool.
We're going to be jumping back into Indie at some point soon, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think a game just overall that earns recognition. I could tell Dev.
Machine Games?
Thank you. Yeah. I was going to say War Machine Games, like it's not War Games. Machine Games, really, this was a labor of love, not only for Machine Games, but for Todd Howard. Troy Baker did a fantastic job. Everything just seemed well executed, and I think that's why it sticks out for me. Going to another game that's in the immediate, Marvel Rivals, a game that I think I was really skeptical on, coming from a Chinese developer. NetEase, just kind of being trepidatious and cautious about that.
Totally.
But on release, on launch day, in the hours of launch, it was fantastic, and it never let up. The gameplay is really great. It competes with a game called Overwatch, and it just kicks Overwatch right out of the pool, and it's like, get the fuck out of here. There's a bigger fish in town. Yeah,
gave it a big old swirly.
Exactly. Yeah. And never had any server issues, and still hasn't had any server issues.
Right.
They've I think there's been over I'm not sure the number of players, but Steam record-breaking numbers.
That's awesome.
For this kind of game. And, when I was on it within the first few hours, I didn't have a problem teaming up with you cross-play. I didn't have any issues getting into games, finding games. It all just worked. And for a multiplayer game, you need that initial first few day buzz.
That's so key.
That's how you're going to get out.
Yep.
And yeah, I think I'll be playing Marvel Rivals for a long time to come.
Love it.
I'm gonna go a little bit out of order. So remember, I talked about those top 3 that game of the year. I'm gonna put Astrobot in there as well. And we do have a write-in about Astrobot. So let me actually. I'm already kind of out of whack. Let me finish mine, and then I'll go to the write-ins.
Sounds good.
Because we have a write-in about Astrobot.
Yeah.
Astrobot. Again, I think a game that I was really looking forward to. I was really down with the vibe. I don't play a lot of platformers. I don't think anyone plays a lot of platformers. It's not a popular genre anymore. It's a genre of our past, and something I think a lot of people look back in nostalgia. And I think Astrobot brought that nostalgia back, but in a very different kind of way, paying reverence to not only PlayStation IP of yesteryear, but kind of IPs in general. I don't think Tomb Raider is not a PlayStation IP, but it is an IP that has been around for a while and has iconically been on PlayStation systems. So it's not just your Sly Cooper and your Uncharted, but it is your Tomb Raider, your Resident Evil, etc. And I really appreciated that reverence toward those. And I want to see what Asobi can do with other genres. I don't think we need an Astro Bot 2 that is another platformer. Like, I think that could get stale.
Sure.
Because they did the demo version, and then they kind of did that again.
The full game, yeah.
Super, the full game, right?
The full experience,
like you just said. So, as much as I want to see a Team Asobi do more with the Astro Bot character and reverence the IP, but, what if it's, a turn-based game, and it's... And I don't know, there's no Final Fantasy in this one. So, what if they got Square to be on board with this and,
sure.
do something with the Final Fantasy characters? I don't know. I think, you can't just churn out the platformers, but you can kind of do both, but, explore different gameplay genres within what Astro Bot is doing.
Right.
Yeah, and it's hard to not look back. And it won Game of the Year.
It did.
Rightfully
so.
Yeah. That was huge. I think the Game of the Years of the Game Awards the last few years have been pretty, on point. It Takes Two, a lot of games that you feel like just
what was the year? It Takes Two was
Gate.
Okay. Baldur's
Gate
right,
was It Takes Two was 2019.
Oh, okay, yeah. But then Baldur's Gate was last year, or not? Yeah, the one before last
2023.
year. Yeah.
Three more, and I'll kind of go over these more quickly. Tomb Raider Remaster 1 to 3. I want to spotlight this. It was a game I played a lot this year, and I really just want to point out and spotlight. Obviously, we didn't review this game. It is a remaster of games that have come before, but of Aspyr just kind of taking these games, bringing them to modern day platforms, and kind of giving them a little bit more between. You have a new control scheme and you have the old control scheme. You have both graphics. There's restored content in some of these games. The expansions are in this game. It's it's very much like a restoration project of Tomb Raider's not accessible. We're going to make it accessible, and it's going to be good. We're going to have a photo mode, and we're going to have a little fun with it. We're going to add a little bit more to it that kind of makes the experience better, which is the new controls. But you can also play the old controls.
Right.
And they're doing that again with 4, 5, and 6. So the fact that pretty much the entire Tomb Raider series is going to be playable in one place. Just like I say with Metal Gear Solid or Kingdom Hearts, I think when you have a series as long-standing as Tomb Raider, that's really important to be I can play Tomb Raider 2013, but I also
especially
play the
from
first
the preservation
Tomb Raider.
standpoint, for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool what Aspyr is doing, and I'm curious to see if they would have done the Knights of the Old Republic remaster, if we would have even gotten this.
So it is interesting too, because they were supposed to do something similar to that for Knights of the Old Republic 2. There was a bunch of cut content that they were planning on bringing back, and then they canceled it. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to see that it seemed to work for
They're
this
doing
one.
that with
this. I'm curious as to why it didn't work for the Knights of the Old Republic 2 stuff. But anyways, it's good to see.
Stellar Blade, I think it was just I just really enjoyed that game. I think I didn't expect it to hit with me like it did. I think that was a game I took a little bit of a risk on. It interested me, but I wasn't super jazzed up about it.
Right.
I took a risk and I really liked it. I really liked the character design of that game, the level design, the combat, narratives kind of okay, but just a really all-around different kind of game
kind of cool world
I liked.
Yeah.
From a South Korean studio that, it felt particularly South Korean, and I feel like it was cool to get another culture's game, just like we are with Stalker 2 or something like that. It is interesting to see games from around the world and how they're similar and how they're different. But again, Stellar Blade stood out for me. And lastly, Silent Hill 2 remake. I think it's awesome when a remake can come out and not just be the same game again, but upgraded. It's kind of taking the Final Fantasy VII remake, where Final Fantasy VII and its remake are two different experiences, and you can kind of appreciate them both. I think Silent Hill does the same thing with Silent Hill 2 remake and Silent Hill 2. I think you can go play Silent Hill 2 and obviously see where it comes from, but it's ultimately a different experience still.
Yeah.
So it kind of adds value to not only the accessible, best, maybe not best way, the easy way to play it, but there are two different options. Hey, if you want to go out of your way to get the original, you can, and you're gonna get a different experience.
You can experience it as God intended if you want still, but the new one is there. Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
Yeah. And again, if you decide to do both or you decide to do one, you're getting like a different experience, but a similar experience nonetheless. It is the same game, but and I would say that almost about Final Fantasy VII Remake too, where those are the same games, but you're getting it in a totally different
You're getting
way.
all the same story beats, but just repackaged.
Right. With different combat. I think your gameplay is where things change up, but yeah. So that's it for games of the year. I don't really think I'm going to give one king. This was a tough year. There wasn't a big standout title for me. But there were a lot of very good games that all kind of like teeter right on the edge.
Right.
So I shudder giving one game my game of the year, but those 6 were my top.
That makes sense.
So let's get to the write-ins. Mike Boucher writes in about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'm slightly biased as a Final Fantasy VII diehard, and I understand some of the criticisms, but I still find myself coming back to this game. I think this game emphasizes character development better than any game releases this year. Cloud, Barret, Tifa, Aerith, Yuffie, Sephiroth are all expanded upon in ways that weren't possible in the original. On top of that, the combat is crisp, satisfying. The narrative is thoughtfully created in a way that is interesting to both new players and diehard fans. There's an emphasis on exploration, and each setting has its own unique aesthetic to it. Costa del Sol feels like a beach vacation. Gungaga feels like a jungle. City of the Ancients feels like a supernatural, feels supernatural, and the Forgotten Capital feels like something terrible is about to happen. I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in a bit. But thank you for writing in, Mike. Penza writes in, this year has been a great year for games because of what it's made it... Oh, run on sentence. This has been a great year for games. And because of that, it's made it tough to pick one game for Game of the Year. I agree. My standouts are Astrobot, Wukong, Marvel Rivals, Shadow of the Erdtree, and Balatro. But if I had to choose one game for my Game of the Year, I think it would have to say be Marvel Rivals. I haven't had a game consume nearly my thoughts every waking second in a long time, and that's exactly what Marvel Rivals has done. From flawless launch to a massive roster of heroes to detail in every hero, map, events, collectibles, I've been really blown away with this game and with NetEase. Do you have anything to say on Marvel Rivals? I know I talked about it.
Yeah, not much, but I can only really echo what you're saying. I think just more I can speak to the way that I am. As I said before, I'm such a new hero shooter guy that I think it is cool to see that they created this new game in this genre to bring so many new people into it. And it's really kind of illuminated me to what that genre can do and how much fun it can be. I just never really kind of gave it the time of day before, to be honest. And I think, the Marvel IP definitely helped that. I think the look of the game helped that. It just drew me right in. So it's a fantastic game. I'm terrible with my multiplayer games. I got to play more of it. I want to play more of it, but it's great.
Since we're talking about multiplayer games, Helldivers, I think, really kind of suffered.
Yeah.
I think in terms of multiplayer games, I think it just didn't stand the test of time for the year. I think it came out early and it came out hard. But I think
it's bad that I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people did too. I think it just didn't have the staying power that I think Marvel Rivals is still in.
And I think there's a main reason to that. And I think it's that the updates on Helldivers were just too few and far between. It took almost a year.
Didn't they kind of nerf the game? And
they were they were making updates in weird ways that were nerfing certain weapons or buffing other ones, and people were getting annoyed at how it was changing the gameplay apparently. But I just don't think that they supported that game to the point that it needed to be supported for a live service game. Whereas you see Marvel Rifles, it's
what's funny? Helldivers 2 isn't a live service game,
but it is.
It is, but it's
a PvE. It's different. Sure, it's different from your Marvel Rivals. But it is a live service game in the way of you need constant updates. You need updates to keep the player base coming back. I think waiting almost a year to get a new enemy type in was a big mistake.
Clearly agrees with me.
Yeah,
because they didn't see this as the cash cow.
I don't
think
they
could have.
Sure. I think they just didn't think it was gone. They just didn't realize
they had
what
their
they had.
money and bets placed on Concord,
like a fucking idiot. Yeah. And it is mind blowing to me how they can get that so wrong. It took us almost a year to get a Helldivers controller. What?
Did that come out?
Yeah, they just released it.
I
think recently.
I was thinking about the Concord one.
Right. Yeah, but and I don't know, man. it is sad to see Helldivers kind of take the dive like that. No pun intended. It's cool that they brought in the Illuminate or whoever it is now. Like, all that new update did kind of pique my interest, but I never downloaded it again, and I don't have PS Plus right now, so I agree with you, man. I totally forgot about Helldivers, so that's actually kind of sad in and of itself.
Joe Myden writes in and says, Balatro. I absolutely loved it on essentially every level. The mechanics of scoring poker hands coupled with the run mechanics and the roguelike elements made it a game I couldn't put down. Runners-up would be Dominion, a phenomenal digital adaptation of my favorite board game, and The Plucky Squire, which was an imperfect but enjoyable 2D, 3D story platformer. Honorable mention to Destiny, The Final Shape, which I played endlessly, but it is a DLC, not a new game. Well, apparently DLCs can be games, so only this year though.
This year.
If it counts for 2024 Game of the Year consideration, it wins every award for me when he's talking about the DLC. Surf the Void writes in and says, 1,000 times resist. Half deconstruction of religion and faith, half vent piece about parental pressures and regretful relationships, all set with a backdrop of an utterly fascinating sci-fi alien invasion story. A style of visuals and voice acting that is completely its own makes it an unforgettable journey that begs to be experienced. Honorable mention to Silent Hill 2 Remake. Chris Connor writes in and says, Astrobot, due to having a nice take on the long dormant platform genre that isn't Nintendo, which also gives callbacks to plenty of past and current PlayStation franchise. The game has a decent balance of gameplay, not getting stale with each of the planet's own looks and mechanics. So let's talk about the exact opposite, our worst games of the year and why. Trio, please.
Okay, Gooch, let's get into it. So there's two I have on here.
This was the one that you said was hard for you, right?
No, it was the next one that was a bit hard for me.
Okay.
So I think truly the biggest disappointment for me this year, and I have finally played it just recently in these past. I actually meant to bring it up in what we're playing, but I'm glad I didn't because now I can talk.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about?
Is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, Gooch?
Yeah. Somebody wrote in about it, and they said they didn't play it. So I'm like, I can't include that.
Right. So it's like, that's why I felt like I could say it now, like that I've played it. So I picked it up for $5. You've heard me if you listen to us.
$7 on Xbox right now, and I think I'm going to pick it up as well.
If you've heard us on this podcast before, you've known my gripes. I think you could not have gotten a more heinous mismatch of studio and type of and genre of project than Rocksteady and a live service. It's just such a stupid mishmash of weird elements that make no sense together. And it sucks because I think there could have been some there. I really like Metropolis itself. I think it's a very cool design for a city. I think there's some interesting writing, but at the same time, it just feels, I mentioned this in the Discord, it feels super The Boys-ish to me, just super cynical and like everyone's a jerk and it's like very nerds versus jocks, like Rick Flagg's walking in and he's talking to the scientists. He's like, tell the nerds to set up their computers over there or whatever. It's like, it just feels very not in line with the Arkham universe that I have grown accustomed to. And it's just overall a very odd third-person shooter with a bunch of heroes and villains. A few of them a bunch of villains, I guess, technically. Some of the traversal stuff's interesting. I think, Deadshot's the best to play as because he just has a jetpack and you can float and you have very good kind of maneuverability around the play area. But then like when you get to Harley Quinn, she's just fucking web swinging off like a Batman glider and she's like slowly climbing up the side of the building. It just feels so weirdly balanced. You're just shooting at these big glowing marks on the bigger enemies, then you're taking out all these smaller grunts. I'm doing the same exact mission over and over again.
That's why I'm surprised you're playing it on your own. I'm like,
because I'm just trying to.
Why would he subject himself to this alone? Like, I wanted to play it, but I was going to be like, get some friends to play it with me, and like, I'm good. If I play it, I'm going to 100% it or do all the achievements. But I'm like, I'd rather like. It seems like a game to play with friends. Yeah. So the fact that you're going at it alone, I find is insane.
To be honest, it just doesn't feel like it. Like it feels as much as it feels like you should play it with friends as much as Gotham Knights did. If that makes sense.
Okay.
So like I just don't feel like having people around me. It might make it a little bit more fun, like to be able to fuck around with people. Those few sessions of
Gotham Knights we had were pretty fun.
They were a good time, but like I don't know, and it's just everyone's using everyone's shooting guns. They're barely using their actual abilities.
How do the DLC characters go into the main campaign?
You can't use them in the main campaign.
That's so weird.
Which is like, what's the point then? Also, and then
what
all of
is
the extra
point?
all the extra content is apparently just like similar. Like you're just fighting Brainiacs in different dimensions, and they're the same boss fights that are like the different.
Yeah, because I saw they had a
fights.
Deathstroke, but the fact that I can't actually play as him until I beat it.
And then again, he's got this
lame.
weird like speedster power. They bring in Joker, like. I don't know. This stuff on its face doesn't necessarily not work. They do random weird stuff in comic books all the time. But it just feels like they're trying to force a square peg into a round hole. And really, Gooch, the saddest thing for me is the opportunity cost. Like, they spent 8 years on this game. And it's just going nowhere. It's for nothing. And maybe not, I don't think the whole entire 8 years they were working on this specific thing. I think they started really working on this in maybe like 2018, 2019. Because they were just trying to, I guess, figure out what they were doing. But I don't know, man. It just, and then now it's just leaving like the Arkhamverse in such an odd place, like with the multiverses, and now apparently the Justice League are back because they were clones that you killed in the main campaign, which then also renders the whole point of the plot inert, in my opinion. I don't know, man. It really is a sad moment for me.
Ricardo writes in and says, Suicide Squad kills the Justice League. It makes me very sad that Rocksteady makes a live service game without soul. Wasted talent.
And then now they're not and a bunch of people left that studio now. The main head writer left, I think, along with both of the head writers, and like the project lead left before the game was finished.
Yeah, Rocksteady is, I think, with DC done.
See, I think they're gonna go running back to Batman now.
I hope they don't.
I hope they don't either. But I think that's the lesson they're gonna take. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
It sucks because I would love to see them treat another character as in-depth as they did with the Arkham series. God, give me a fucking Green Lantern game. Like that's really in-depth. I don't know how you do that, but work on it. Try and think about it. Me shooting Superman with bullets to kill him. What? What do we do? Okay, fine, they're kryptonite bullets. Okay, I guess, fine. Maybe if we got there in a different way, I would have accepted that more. But it just felt so odd. I don't know, man. Very big disappointment for me. Then I guess the other one, it's not as sad for me as this one. The Suicide Squad kills the Justice League one. This is more of just like a point of fact. Like, oh man, that sucks that I just kind of forgot about it. Was Shattered Space, Starfield. I'm a person who very much enjoys the main campaign, enjoyed that main game, and it just kind of felt like a fart in the wind. I don't really remember it that well. It didn't feel like it was. I know it had major, like, I guess, issues, like glitches wise when it first dropped.
Okay.
Which I didn't really run into, at least when I got to it finally. But it wasn't super long. I didn't feel like there was as much exploration as they were kind of saying they were trying to get back to. It just was meh. There's definitely a lot of Dune and like House Varun, and like there's a lot of inspiration in that regard, and I like the idea of House Varun. I think there's some interesting lore there, but overall I never even brought it up after I finished it, and that is, I think, the biggest disappointment to me. Like, shows like where I was at with it, so that's kind of sad. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if Bethesda's gonna work on another DLC or really just kind of try to pump it up with Elder Scrolls now. I feel like that's probably their best bet, is to just kind of listen. I love Starfield. I realize it's not for everyone, and I realize it's not for a lot of people apparently, and that's totally understandable. I think that they can. I'm glad that they got it out of their system though, and that now they can hopefully just kind of focus hard in on Elder Scrolls and really and do what they need to do.
Yeah, this game did not nearly do the numbers it need to, nor did its DLC get received well. I think for them to do another
to keep going
DLC like that, yeah. It seems
I don't know.
like
I'm curious. I honestly would just rather hope that they move to Elder Scrolls genuinely and just be full force into that, because it's been a while and I would really like to see what that's all about. But those are my two disappointments, Gooch.
My worst games of the year: Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. I don't think I really need to say a lot about this.
All right.
This game just was like,
talk about a wet fart.
Yeah. I mean, like, talk about a game that fell flat on its face. I mean, it's just the same game, but like a different story, and they did nothing more to it. It's not as engaging as the first one was. Like, what the first one is, the second one is not. That's why it's bad. It just did not succeed. What I think, especially with like, it was supposed to be a launch title.
Took so
Like it
long.
floated around for so long, and I think people were genuinely excited for it that it just came out and it was just like a fish floundering on land.
And I think those delays led people to believe that like they were working on something a bit bigger. I don't know. Like I felt like when
I would agree.
when that was first announced, it felt like they were like, this is going to be much, like, more in depth than
visually
what first
the game
one.
is stunning.
Of course,
but I can only bring
It's just a
you
movie.
so
It's
far.
like basically an interactive movie at that point. So
yeah.
I don't know, man. I totally agree.
And this one is my tough one. This one, I think, the fact that it's here is stunning. But that's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is one of my worst games of last year. And it's not because I didn't like the story. It's not because I didn't like the gameplay. It's really about the fact that Final Fantasy VII is a game full of shit. There's too much going on. There is entirely too much minutia and things to do and mini games and side quests that aren't really that interesting. There's too much. And when you have a sandwich, too much of one thing in the sandwich can totally ruin it. My analogy during the review was like we have a peanut butter and fluff sandwich, and there was just too much fluff.
Right.
Like there's way too much marshmallow. This sandwich is just overwhelmed. I can't even taste the peanut butter.
Right. It might as well not even exist.
And I've only done one playthrough of the game, and I do intend on going back and getting the platinum, but I got to give it some space.
Right.
I put 180 hours into it, and most of that is the side content. A lot of people reviewed it and like blitzed through and got to the end of the story and I think like 50 hours, and I'm just like, I don't think that's the correct way to play a Final Fantasy game. I don't think you should be passing all the side like if you have to pass all the side content
Gooch,
to
I'm sorry,
finish the
man.
game in like less than half the time, like I don't think that's correct.
I might have to pause this here. I'm getting a migraine. What time is it?
It's 1:20.
Okay.
But you can still talk.
I can. Yeah. No, I can. So I get the aura, which is like the precursor. It just basically lets me know
so
I'm getting a migraine.
For everyone, we just had to stop for a sec.
Yeah.
Yeah, the trio got a migraine for
Jesus,
the
I'm
first time
sorry.
ever in the middle of a podcast.
Yeah, this has never happened before. So I get what they call ocular migraine. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm still close.
Mike's like in your
Yeah, I got it. Hold on. Thank you. Oh, God, I need help right now. It's so tough. All right, are we in front here?
Yeah.
Okay.
You just gotta put your hand out. The microphone.
All right, so ocular migraines, for those who don't know, you get what's called an aura. So I basically just see like a spot, I call it. And it slowly kind of grows over my whole vision until it's just like this big light show in my eyes, basically, that goes for about half an hour. So that's fun. I just took my medicine, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's on the table.
All right, we're good.
So I guess what's good about this is you don't need to see.
I don't really need to see. So
Well,
it's fun to be blind for a bit.
Do you remember what you have written for your stuff?
Kind of, yeah. We'll get to it.
I could always look at your phone and tell you, and then you can say it. But anyway,
All right.
okay, we're getting through this.
Yep.
This is working.
Oh,
it's
God.
funny if you're watching visually.
Yeah, that's all
I mean,
right.
it's not that bad. It's
No.
just you look like one of those kids from like Fat Albert.
Right, that's just pulled in front of my head. Where's the water here? I don't want to knock it over.
Right there.
Okay, cool. We open? Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Yeah, so Final Fantasy just it had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth just has too much to it, and it kind of ruins the whole game. And I want to experience an RPG, and I want to do most of it, just like Baldur's Gate 3. I went through like most of not all the side content I could before I wrapped up the game. I don't want to hear that going through the entire first half of the story. Or the entire story is the way to play it and skip all the side content. Like, I don't want to be told how to consume an RPG like that.
No, that makes sense. And it's kind of tough because I feel like they're kind of doing this balance of they want to add new stuff in and they want to, like, cater to the modern audience.
They're
but
being true to it. Like, there is a lot of side content in Final Fantasy VII Original.
Right.
But a lot of it, like, I don't think a lot of players engaged with a lot of it.
Right.
And I feel like now they're kind of, like, putting it in front of you and they want you to engage to it because
Right.
they put a lot of time into it. So they want you to see it.
that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's kind of like one of those where...
And I think, again, they just, like I said, they want to, like, place it for a modern audience, so they want like the endless hours of content that I feel like everyone's grown accustomed to at this point. So
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah. But yeah, I know I'm in the minority on that, but and like Mike wrote in is like there is a lot of critique, and like my critique goes to the point where it's just like it kind of ruined the game for me.
Sure. No, it took it over that edge, unfortunately.
So going to the write-ins, Jess writes in and says Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail. Yeah, Gooch is gonna be all game is dead. It is indeed going downhill, and I hate to see it. I know that this will likely go down as the ARR. I don't know what that means. It's in quotes. ARR. I don't know if that's a Final Fantasy 7 term. Oh, A Realm Reborn. Got it. The original Final Fantasy 14 of this story arc, but it really failed to hold my attention. The story had really interesting premise, but unfortunately the main character you're going around with was just too much of a Mary Sue to make it enjoyable. The second half of the story is promising, so hopefully the next expansion brings back that excitement. Turn 2 writes in and says, Dragon Age the Veilguard. It was a massive letdown in every single way. I'd be willing to drag myself through the game to express specific details if necessary, but you already know I'm right. I disagree and agree.
Wait, so are they saying that they didn't play it?
No, they did. They just didn't finish it.
Oh, I see.
I guess they were...
No, that makes sense. No, yeah.
Saying if you need me to play more, but I'm not
I see.
Right back to you. That's not how you engage with the forums. But yeah, I like Dragon Age Veilguard, and there's a lot I don't like, and like the blurb for the review says, it's complicated. And I think it has a lot of bad, but not to a point where I thought the game was like
unplayable
or like trash.
Right.
Or, like I dislike a lot of things, but that's like coming from like a Dragon Age fan, not necessarily like a gamer.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I understand your points, but it's not Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for me.
Right.
And next is what's your biggest surprise, positive or negative, and why?
I remember these.
Final Fantasy VII is mine. I just didn't expect to dislike it.
Right.
So that's really all I have to say on mine. I didn't expect to have this big of a about it. You know, like
it's disappointing.
Just really surprised
me. You weren't expecting that whatsoever. Right.
Yeah. What about you, Trio?
I think for me it was indie. Genuinely. I just was not expecting it to be nearly as good as it is, to be nearly as faithful as it is, to just feel like another indie outing in all of the perfect ways. Like, I cannot give Troy Baker more credit. Like, he is the reason I think truly he's like the linchpin that makes that game work so well. Troy, yeah. Because if that voice doesn't work, if it doesn't feel like I'm watching Indiana Jones, that game doesn't work. And like he sells it so well.
Yeah. If you have a poor performance, how can I get into it?
Exactly. Right. So I truly think it's a game, like I said before, I'm just reiterating it. It shouldn't exist. I really am surprised it exists, and I'm so happy it does. So I can't thank them enough for making that game specifically. But I think the other one's probably Silent Hill 2 for me, I would say. I just didn't expect to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. I mean, I probably should have, considering, it's a critically acclaimed game. It's a very well-made game. And if they were just remaking it, it was probably going to be the same. But I know we had a lot of not issues, but Blooper developed that, right? Blooper team?
Bloober.
Yeah,
not
Bloober. Yeah, right.
Like boob with
yeah, right.
L.
And I know they were kind of questionable at first, but they seemed to really kind of take it home and kick some ass. And it's a fantastic game that I will definitely re-experience sometime in the future to try and get some of those endings. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mike Boucher writes in again and says, I was really surprised by how much fun Star Wars Outlaw was.
Yes.
I had some anxiety about how this game would launch. Like a lot of people did.
Absolutely. Fair enough.
The game has proven to be fun. It's ideally how I like to spend my time in the Star Wars universe. It's exploring the worlds, playing Sabacc, and meeting other NPCs that exist in the same universe. You can play the game at your own pace, and that's what I like about it. So
can't help but
I think Trio loves to hear that.
I do. It's really fantastic.
Tomorag writes in and says, Balatro, I don't get the hype, and I wish I had more to say about it because I haven't heard anything negative about it. That was
haven't either.
One of the first negative things I heard about it. So,
that's barely even negative. It's just like, I just didn't really like it.
Yeah. But When it's kind of like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for me, when people are so hype about a game and you're negative. Like, imagine if you don't dislike Baldur's Gate 3. Like, you're just like,
it's just I feel like you
just feel
like why
weird.
aren't I understanding this? Right.
So next up, we have what games are you looking forward to in 2025? For this one, I just kind of wrote what everyone said, not by name, because there was a lot of repeats.
Right.
You know, a lot of people had the same.
And I'm
things.
probably honestly going to repeat a lot of them myself personally.
Do you remember yours? Or do you
I do.
need to
I had a bunch, but I remember the big ones. I mean, GTA 6 obviously is the number one for me.
Yeah,
it's a game we've been waiting for over 10 years. It's a $1 billion game. I'm curious to see what that looks like. If we even get it next year, of course, or this year, I should say. I hope we do. And if once we get that solid date, I'm absolutely going to play GTA 5 again. So that's going to be fun. Other than that, though, like in the immediate future, I'm trying to think. I KCD 2 for sure. Kingdom Come. I think that is shaping up to be like probably one of the most interesting games of this year, aside from GTA, of course. I can't wait to see what I think their Warhorse Studios has done. Chad Henry is looking great. The game looks fantastic. I can't wait to play it. I'm excited. There's probably a few more on there that I can't think of right now, but I'm sure you'll go through.
Do you want to?
Here, let's see.
Is your phone open?
I don't know if it is anymore. I don't even know where it is.
I got it. I need your face.
Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and then you should be able to like. Yes, wait, hold on a second. Oh god, this hurts. There we go.
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's all right.
So you had, you have a lot.
Yeah. I know Adam Fall was on there. That looks kind of interesting to me. Avowed, of course.
Avowed's on there.
Yeah.
AC Shadows.
Yeah, right. Shadows, I gotta say, man, these newest previews have been really winning me over.
I hope for your sake and Ubisoft's sake, it's
I do too, man.
good.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think that is one of those games that like there's a stink on it already, man. And whether it's fair or not, they are gonna have to outrun that stink. And I think it's gonna have to be like a 9 or 10 out of 10 to do that.
Yeah.
And
It's got to be like the best.
It's gotta be the
Assassin's
best, yeah.
Creed since I would say Origins.
Yeah, easily.
Or
And
like Assassin's Creed 2 to even go back further to its peak.
100%. And, you know, I think they're doing a lot of very interesting things when it comes to getting back more into the stealth aspect of it. I mean, you can go prone in this one. I know people are like, oh, wow, it only took 8 games for an Assassin's Creed to let you go prone. It's like, yeah, sure, but I'm glad they're doing it. And I think that they are really leaning into the stealth in a way that I'm just excited for. And I don't see often anymore. We don't get a lot of stealth games. The aesthetic looks great. It looks vivid and fantastic, so I'm excited. I really hope it does well. I hope it can outrun that stank, and I hope it's good. I really do.
You have Ghost of Yotei on here.
Oh yeah, that's also. I mean, listen, I think that's more of a sure thing. I'm excited for that. You know, who's working on that? Sucker Punch. They did an amazing job with the first one. I mean, I can only imagine that they're going to kick some ass with the second. And you know, I guess I'm not as excited. I actually think I am a bit more excited for AC Shadows than that, just because, like, I think there is more on the line for them, and I think we'll just kind of have to see what happens.
I think
but,
Sucker Punch is a pretty safe place.
Right.
If Ghost of Yotei is poorly received, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. Not that it would be.
But I'd be very surprised if that were the case. Yeah.
Outer Worlds 2?
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I want to. I want to see more from Outer Worlds 2. I hope that they expand on that game in just certain ways, especially when it comes to explorations. Even with Avowed, like, I am a little afraid of the zones, Gooch. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of wish, I know
I
they
think
can't.
I didn't love those zones in Outer Worlds.
I really
1.
didn't, from my memory. And listen, I get it. They're a smaller studio. They're not going to be able to make like a large open world like a Skyrim or something like that. But I think you could make a tight, you know, kind of smaller scale one open world that would be very well done. And I did see an interview with one of the devs earlier this week. IGN posted they were talking about why they use zones, and it's like from a pacing perspective. And I do think that's interesting because they just seem to be focusing much more on the main campaign of it all and like the story of it all, to where, you know, I mean, Skyrim, you can just fucking, and Fallout, and even, you know, Starfield to a degree, you can just get into it and kind of go off wherever you want. And I don't know if you have that kind of same freedom at the beginning of Outer Worlds, or even trying to think of another one that they've done recently, but I'm curious how Avowed will do.
Death Stranding 2?
Yes. Gooch. I shouldn't.
I have a funny feeling it's not going to be this year.
That would make sense. I know there's a lot
I
of
feel like we haven't heard about it because Kojima is making sure the game is where it needs to be before he gives it a date.
Right.
And I think that's why. I mean, that's why he said he didn't reveal it at the Tokyo Game Show. Obviously, Death Stranding 2 on the beach is on mine too.
Right.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But continue. This is yours.
Yeah. No. I shouldn't like Death Stranding 1. Kojima's a crazy mofo who I just want to see what he has in his mind next. So I really can't wait to see what Death Stranding 2 is about. That trailer got me right away with fucking Troy Baker, Bowie Joker, with his shooting lightning out of his guitar or whatever. It's awesome. I can't wait to see what they're going to do and cook up. And it's just so unique and interesting what Kojima can cook up. And you know what? He's earned the right to smell his own farts a bit with me, I got to say.
Doom the Dark Ages?
Can't wait. Not much to say on that. I think it just looks fantastic. And I'm excited to see them get back to the more, I guess, it's not stagnant, that's not the right word, but stiff gameplay maybe, in the way of like you're grounded and it's less jumping and platforming, and they're talking about standing your ground and being a tank, and that sounds very interesting to me.
And lastly, Sky Oblivion / Oblivion remake.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, Sky Oblivion's, you've talked about this before with me, Gooch, and you're like, it feels like it's been around forever and they've just been working.
Sky Oblivion?
Yeah, and I think that's a fair outlook. And, you know, it's a fan project they've just been working on slowly but surely. I've appreciated how much they've updated people on it, and like they really seem to be cooking up for this year. It seems like it's going to come. But then we also have the
it's going to come.
Yeah, it's going to come. Then we have the Oblivion remake though, which, you know, has been rumored for God knows how long at this point. And I guess it's coming. It keeps getting reconfirmed, but I just want to replay Oblivion in a newer fashion, because it is tough going back to that game. I have in the last couple years, and it definitely shows its age in a good way in some ways. You know how silly that game is, but I don't know. I would love to be able to play that even in just Skyrim's engine. That sounds like a ton of fun. I hope we get to do it in some way.
I should be open to getting it, like playing it as well. I'm curious what it's going to take graphically.
Yeah, like the remake or Sky Oblivion?
Sky Oblivion.
Yeah, I don't know, because I know it's just in Skyrim's engine, as far as I understand, but there are some updated, like, they're doing updated elements. They seem to be putting a lot of work into it.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the other thing that kind of makes me sad. It's like, maybe, I'm surprised Bethesda doesn't go to these guys and be like,
give it like a seal
of approval of some kind. Like, they've been working on this for so many years. I guess there might be some legalese behind that, and like how they have to pay them maybe for it. I don't know. But it's odd.
Oblivion remake is also like.
So I put those, I guess, / because like I don't know what's happening. Like I guess if there's
remake,
Oblivion,
right. It's not been officially announced.
Yeah, if that's officially announced, I guess I'd probably play that version. But like if it doesn't, I'm excited for Sky Oblivion, and I definitely want to play that. And I think I hope my computer could handle it. I think it could. We'd have to see. Yeah.
So, what am I looking forward to most?
I'm sorry, real quick before you start. What time is it?
It is 1:37.
Okay, cool.
Are you timing for your medicine?
I am. Well, so usually this takes about half an hour to go away.
I wanted to say, I was thinking about checking in on you like after we were done, but how are you feeling?
I'm feeling okay. It's really I gotta say most of the time
you're feeling like the fact that you're like still talking. I was like, oh, I didn't know. Like
it's really the aftermath of the lights. Like once I get the aura, I don't have any pain yet or anything. It usually starts to kind of develop as the aura moves, because literally what I'm seeing is the electrical signal crossing my brain, apparently, as far as I understand it. And the pain starts to kind of starts to usually implement after it's done, within like an hour. So usually probably like within an hour or two, I'll probably be feeling a little shitty, and I'll feel a little bit more hungover, and the pain will start. But usually if I get the migraine medicine in my system immediately, it does dull most of the pain. Yeah. But I'll still feel relatively
what's
crappy.
Good is we're at the tail end of this.
That's what I was thinking too. I think we'll be able to get
and I do appreciate you through this.
No problem.
Because I know it's awkward for you.
All.
It is crazy. I mean, we've had to move podcasts because of your migraine.
This has never.
And we had to do this recently, but this never happened. No, actually, didn't you get a migraine during the God of War 1 review?
I didn't get a migraine. I think I was just sick.
Okay.
I think I was literally like, I was like sweating and didn't feel well.
Yeah.
I think I just had to leave. Yeah. I don't think it was a migraine though.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway. Yeah. I'm glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
You also look like SpongeBob when he goes to rob the bank.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Put the money in the bag.
What games am I looking at most in 2025? Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Like Trio said at the top, it's just like I'm really looking forward to see what Warhorse has done to Kingdom Come with a bigger budget and a much more accomplishable scope. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that gameplay can be, because that was my biggest negative. And I'm really looking forward to just, seeing that world. And it's only like a week away. So
no, it's true. There was that like element of jank to it that I'm hoping will be smoothed over a bit more.
Yeah.
In KCD 2.
Avowed. I think this game has been kind of on our list, I think, since it arrived.
Yeah.
Being like, the Skyrim-esque. To your right.
Thank you.
No, it's your coffee.
Oh.
Go over more.
I see.
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting there.
I'm hoping it is not like the Outer Worlds. I hope it is a bit better than that.
Yeah.
Because I know that was the last RPG we got from Obsidian, so I hope the Black Rock can pull Avowed off and make it better than Skyrim, but have those elements and have those Outer World elements, but create like a new cool world for us to go into.
I agree, man.
Tomb Raider 4 through 6 remaster. Not much to say there. Just looking forward to my favorite Tomb Raider is the 4th game, the Last Revelation. So I'm looking forward to jump into that again. But I haven't finished 3, so I feel like I need to do that before I play 4. So we'll see. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. This was recently highlighted on the Developer Direct. I'm not sure if you watched this part.
I didn't. I did see the clips from it, but I didn't see the whole
It is like
Direct.
a turn-based RPG made by a French studio.
It's Charlie Cox, right? Is like the main guy?
No, it's the guy who plays Clive Rossfield.
Oh, okay. I thought is Charlie Cox in it though? I thought I saw something about him being in it.
Yeah, why do I
could have
feel like
sworn that he's like part of the party.
Why do I feel like you're right? Let me
But
see.
either way, that's it. It looks really cool. I mean, for a turn-based like JRPG, especially, I would not have expected to be even sort of interested in it. I probably won't pick it up, but like it still like piques me for sure.
Charlie Cox video game. I feel like you're on.
I could have sworn I saw like a
he is.
Yeah.
He is. I don't know who he is, but he is in it. You're right. But Ben Starr is also in it, so we are both right. I'm just looking forward to a JRPG, a turn-based game, not made by a Japanese studio. I find that really interesting. The story looks really cool. It's just, I think it's just one of those games that's going to come from a studio who doesn't necessarily have this big pedigree, so we don't know what to expect, but ambitious. JRPG is with the rise of Persona 5, I think, has really come back in the mainstream. So I think this is a lot of people's bag. A lot of people bought Persona, and I know it's not Persona, but it is the gameplay style.
Yeah, it's still, it might as well, yeah.
And this is coming out in, I think, April? April or March. It's coming out in the spring, so I'm looking forward to it.
When's Doom? Doom's relatively
Doom
quick,
is
right?
May.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a lot of games in that spring area. Death Stranding 2 on the beach, of course, it's on here.
Dude.
I'm just looking, like I've said before, I'm just looking to what Kojima has to say about life again.
Thematically, yeah.
And how it relates to Death Stranding being like, again, I've said this before, that maybe we shouldn't have connected tagline. I really want to see like what he means by that and how this game is going to either talk about that or discuss that, maybe prove that wrong, or whatever themes he's getting into with this, I just find very compelling.
I might have to play the director's cut because I bought it and I never got around to it.
It's on Xbox now too. So
and I own it on PlayStation. I just never got around to it.
Yeah, I think just depending on when it comes out, I think I may return to it as well on Xbox and 100% it again and kind of do it for a third time. So. It's great that it's kind of is everywhere now.
No, it's
which
true.
Is funny.
Yeah, it is. It is funny how it just kind of just like slowly weaned out.
I think it's clear that Kojima Productions puts its hands in every pie.
Oh,
if
definitely.
they can.
Yeah.
Kojima.
Well, I mean,
even with his IP being
you want as much
IP.
money as you can, for sure. Like I think genuinely, and even like that's when it comes down to like. I think really most of the number of people, even on like PlayStation, want to put their stuff everywhere. But again, then it's just like, why buy my box? So
And lastly. And I didn't know this, and somebody wrote in and had it, and I was like, are they right? And they are. Gears of War E-Day has a 2025 slate.
Like a slate. Oh.
And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Gears of War,
I'm excited for that too, man.
Gears of War E-Day, I hope it is just a single player suite. I really hope it's this meaty 20 to 30 hour Dom and Marcus
Just
brothers to the end. Like,
so did they confirm it's only 2-player co-op? Like, is that like, okay.
We don't know anything about this game.
Okay, that's what I thought. All right.
But in my head, that's what I want.
That would
it to
make
be.
sense to me.
I don't need it to have a multiplayer suite. I don't need it to have like an escape or like an overrun game mode. They always have this odd game mode that kind of goes in with Horde. What were you gonna say?
I did also want to say about Doom. I just totally lost my train of thought though. You just said something. Continue. Sorry.
It's okay. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to E-Day. And jumping back into Gears 5 has solidified that. What do you have to say?
The multiplayer suite. I'm sorry. I like that. It is cool that they're not having that on that side.
Seems like,
and I think you're right on the Gears side too. I think that's the way to go.
I think they tried it once, they tried it twice, and I think it's just like that's not why people are buying this game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not 2009 or 10 where like every game had a multiplayer suite.
It's true.
Yeah. And as somebody who's played both, they were not anything super memorable.
That's the thing. Even with Warhammer, I was like, maybe you guys could have just put more time into the campaign and not even done that because that multiplayer is probably just it's not going to last. Probably, unfortunately. But
moving on. Which 2024? Oh, sorry, no. For the audience. So they wrote in a lot of the same things we're talking about. What games they're looking forward to in 2025: GTA 6, Assassin's Creed Shadows, Avowed, Atomfall, Ghost of Yote, Mafia Old Country, Gears E-Day, Death Stranding 2, Dynasty Warriors Origin, Monster Hunter Wild, Civ 7, Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra has a 2025 slate. Who knows if it's going to hit that?
Yeah, that's the Amy Hennig one, right?
Yeah. Dune Awakening, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Borderlands 4, and Slay the Spire 2. So thank you, Ian, for writing for those. And back to our regular format. Which 2024 game did you want to play this year, but you get again a chance to? Trio, do you remember yours?
I do. It was Stalker. Just didn't get to it. I started it up and it didn't hit for me. Not that it was bad or anything like that. I just need to give it another shake, I think.
So I had the same issue, and when I jumped back into it, just within this week, it hit.
That's good.
I think I really like its gameplay loop, and I like the weight management and kind of like picking a gun and like committing to it for that run, and then being able to go back to your inventory and manage it. I like the loop,
right?
And I think that's what I like about it most. The story, I know you keep on.
I know. I'm sorry. Continue.
The story and the narrative, I'm not sure I even understand all that.
Right.
Much.
You're just kind of playing for almost the game.
Yeah,
right,
and I feel a bit disconnected there, which kind of makes me feel like I wouldn't jump back to the other games because of that.
Interesting.
If I really feel like it doesn't matter. But
yeah.
Because I kind of had that inkling to do that.
And I will say, honorable mention, I think, is Veilguard. I think I
really?
I think at some point I might try to get to it. I'm not going to make any promises here.
Okay.
But, it did interest me somewhat, but yeah, there are some of the dialogue in that, really, the clips I was seeing, I'm like, what? Who?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you can explore certain themes in, like, especially fantasy or literature, but like, or games. It's just you got to do it with some type of finesse, right?
Yeah,
like you can't.
That was the point I made on Veilguard with Tosh. It's like they wrote her as a real human being, not as a fantasy.
Right,
character.
like they wrote her as like a current day like Twitter warrior almost. Like I don't know. It just felt that's like the one with the horns, right? The girl.
Yeah, she's a Quinari. Yeah.
Like why are they? And
or
maybe like
Quinari.
And it's just using like super current day like terminology that just wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So like it just feels so out of place that like that does kind of draw me back. But honorable mention Veilguard for sure.
My games were Balatro and Metaphor Refantasio. Balatro, like I just haven't had a time. I didn't like. I feel like this year I was so busy and I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of things.
Right.
And putting in Metaphor Refantasio, another like 200-hour RPG, was not there. But Balatro, I have a feeling I'm going to play that sooner rather than later.
Gotcha.
Our audience wrote in. Chris Connor wrote Stellar Blade. Penza wrote Indiana Jones. Surf the Void. And Mike Boucher wrote Metaphor. Joe Midian wrote Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. Turn Into wrote Silent Hill 2 Remake. Casey Wellman wrote Astrobot. And Ricardo wrote Dragon's Dogma 2.
Love it.
Hold on. I'm moving all three things down. And So what was our favorite game that you played this year that did not come out in 2024?
Want me to start?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. My brain's kind of it's half capacity right now. My favorite game I think that I didn't play this year was definitely Returnal.
Yeah, and you mentioned that
I brought that up a couple times I think
Yeah.
on here. It's a truly beautiful game, a fantastically fun game, one of the only truly next gen games I feel like we've experienced this generation. Just between its load times, the way it plays, and how it looks, it's kind of I feel like what the promises we were made like kind of fulfilled in the PS5 generation. I just felt like we got away from a lot of that, especially when it came to load times with games. But it's a really great game. I think you're kind of going to be into the what kind of style game is this, Gooch, again? Returnal, yeah. It's not a Metroid roguelike. That's what I'm looking for. I feel like you might be in or out on the roguelike element, like, how it's reusing kind of some of the same assets in different ways, and it's these cycles every time that you're repeating. You got to drill in and really try, and sometimes you got to really drill in, I should say, and like just keep going. Sometimes even when you die, like it can get a little grueling, but I think there is some satisfaction to once you finally do beat it.
Yeah, it's like the overcoming the obstacle,
Exactly.
which is kind of like the whole point of the game. In a way.
It is
like
the theme of it in a way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean there's a DLC called the myth. It has something to do with Sisyphus.
Oh, the Tower of Sisyphus. I didn't realize that was DLC.
Yeah,
That's cool.
And the myth of Sisyphus is him pushing the boulder up the hill
right.
just for it to fall back down to do it again, which is
very
obviously.
cool. Yeah, I can't recommend Returnal enough. It's so much fun. And yeah, again, I said it's beautiful. Like the boss fights are genuinely gorgeous in a weird way. They're like terrifying yet gorgeous. I really love it. Can't recommend it enough.
And you had one other. Do you remember?
I don't. What was it?
Fallout 4.
Oh yes, Fallout, and that was mainly I think because of the show actually. So I watched the show and I was like, man, I just am itching for some Fallout, and I jumped back into that, and man, Gooch, fuck the haters. Fallout 4 is fucking awesome. I know, like, I get the dialogue tree stuff, and I completely am in agreement with that. But I really do love Fallout 4. I think that there's a lot of strong writing in it, and I think some of the side stuff and the factions a little iffy for sure. And I think there's some weird choices maybe with the sun, but I don't know. I really do enjoy that game a lot. I put like 90 hours into it again this year, I think. Wildly enough. But,
nice. I mean, you always go back to those games.
I do. I don't know what it is. I can easily just kind of jump back in. Yeah. It's almost like an every 2-year cycle.
Do you always finish them or no?
Not necessarily. Like, I finish them to where I feel satisfied.
Right, where almost. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Like, because it's so funny. I actually reinstalled Fallout 4 again the other day. And I was like, because I'm playing Fallout 3 and I'm like I'm in the mood. So I was like, oh, where was I in this? I'm just curious now. And I was like at level 50 again. And I still have a lot of stuff to do. Like I was just at I just started to do the main campaign again, and like I was at the Institute and stuff like that. But God, it's so much fun.
My favorite game that didn't come out last year was Kingdom Come Deliverance. I just really, I love immersive games.
I should have said that too, actually. That's a great point. Yeah,
I love immersive games, unnecessarily immersive games. And I think Kingdom Come is that game for the fantasy genre where, they're going out of their way to make gameplay as true to maybe how it was back then. And like, you didn't know how to read and you don't know how to do a lot of things. You're a peasant. So you're starting from like the ground level and you really feel like a peasant and you really feel like you're building Henry up to, I guess, his knight status.
Those historic, like that, the commitment to the historical aspect of it is something that I think really does make that game.
And like
so cool.
Pentiment, they have a glossary where you can read up on about, King Wenceslas or, whatever you come across.
Right.
And it feels very natural and it makes a lot of sense. You can get
very
a lot of
cool.
context
The
from
menus in that game too, like, are so
stylized.
bespoke and stylized.
Yeah.
Very cool. I can't help but echo that, Gooch. It took me 3 tries, but I got it. I got there.
Yeah. I'm glad you did too. Yeah.
I am too.
And I feel like I really kind of made you do
I
that,
feel,
right?
you were
When
KCD 2's coming out, and then you were starting it again. I'm like, man, this looks good. I need to. I want to give this another shot. Yeah. And I do think that the first couple hours are a bit tough to get through.
Yeah.
But once you do, that game opens up in a way that's so interesting and cool. And once you kind of get a handle on all the different mechanics, it's really great.
So our viewers wrote in. Jess wrote in Baldur's Gate 3. Casey wrote Witcher 3. Tomorag wrote Final Fantasy 16. Penza wrote Dark Souls 3 and 1.
Right.
And then Turn Into wrote God of War Ragnarok. I would like to play Witcher 3 again as well.
Yeah. I actually played it like somewhat recently within the past 2 years again.
Yeah, like a full playthrough. I've kind of been like, I played that, if you recall, I played that game on PC.
Oh, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah. I built a new PC for that game. Because I was kind of like, I played Witcher 2 there, so I wanted to play Witcher 3 there, despite, I don't think I was as like hardcore about I was hardcore about the achievement hunting, but I think I like, you know me, I made like a pretty big decision to not do that. But I think I would like, get the game of the year, play it on Xbox. I think I would, I don't know if I'd time it with, it's going to be interesting to see if Witcher 1 remake comes out before Witcher 4, and then you can play 2 on Xbox back compatibility,
really cool,
and then go into 3.
I would think that the remake would come out first, but I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe, no.
You would think. But
we don't know. I feel like it would. Yeah, right. I feel like logically that
you think
would line
they would
up.
release that, and when they released it, they released a date.
Right.
Like, it would be like a quick, here it is. You're gonna play it in 6 months.
And I'm sure like that's a bit less of a daunting task because you have it already laid out for you. And
Right,
I'm
it's
wondering
not a
how much they're
completely-
changing that really, or more just like modernizing it.
Lines.
Right. Right. Yeah. Very curious.
Here we
Real
are.
quick. What time is it?
1:55.
All right. Cool.
So we have hit the 30-minute mark.
All right. Cool.
for your
Yeah.
migraine.
I think my aura is actually gone, but I like to give it like an extra 15 to 20 minutes.
I was like, would you like to remove the hat?
Not quite yet. Maybe before the end.
I'm too scared.
Yeah. I'm a little scaredy.
Just drag your foot.
Did I drag my foot?
Yeah.
I might have.
Yeah. I heard a weird noise. I was like, what was that? Okay. And last, but kind of least, the bonus question. What was your favorite movie, TV show, comic book that was released last year? Trio, do you remember?
I do. I think Dune was at the top there for me.
Yep.
Which it just was fantastic. It was kind of everything I was looking for in that movie. I think Denis Villeneuve is a fantastic director.
How's Fallout not on here?
Because I forgot.
Okay,
so
there
that
you go.
should be on there. Another fantastic series. And just something that was knocked out of the park in a way that I just could never have expected. We talked about it on our review. They massacred that show in the best way possible. They nailed the Fallout universe. They did it so well that they made me play another 90 hours of Fallout. But there was a third. Was there another one on there, Gooch, for me?
The First Omen and Penguin.
Right. So First Omen, I think that was my favorite horror movie this year. It felt like such a throwback to like the 70s and 80s horror style while keeping it very modern and scary and just keeping a terrifying atmosphere going the entire time. I felt like, where it was going was very obvious, but overall it was just a very well-made movie and very well acted. So I can't recommend that one enough. And yeah, I mean, we spoke about the Penguin. Go back and watch our review. It's the tits.
Yeah, I had Fallout, The Penguin, Dune Part 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yep. All good stuff.
Our viewers, with viewers like you, it's like PBS. The Substance. This one is kind of like the what were you excited for? I just put them all together since there were some repeats. The Substance, Dune Part 2, Gladiator 2, Dan to Dan, Long Legs, Shogun, which I need to watch, Wicked, Blood Over Brighthaven, Under the Oak Tree, Sonic 3, The Fall Guy, and Nosferatu were some of your favorite movies, TV shows, books, comics, and or movies.
Did you see Fall Guy?
No.
It was good, actually. I would definitely recommend. My girlfriend and I watched it.
Which one is that again?
That's Ryan Gosling, and he's like the stuntman.
Yes,
yeah.
with not ScarJo, Emily Blunt.
Right.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah, very good, actually.
It's those kind of movies that I just like don't have any sort of inkling to
Yeah,
see.
and honestly, I probably wouldn't have seen it in theater. Obviously, I didn't. We watched it for free on Prime. I will say it's a really good movie, and I think it's well acted, and like there's a lot of really cool stunts in it, and they're done for real. But I think that they're shot in a way that makes them feel not real. So it almost kind of like they're showing all the stunts being done at the end of the movie. I'm like, oh, that was real? Like I didn't realize it. And I don't know if that's because I'm an idiot or because of the way it was shot and presented that like there was too many cuts or the angle or whatever. It just didn't feel that real. So that was a bit unfortunate in my opinion. But
this was a year to just sort of final thoughts. This was a weird year for movies.
Sure.
And I always say this at the end of our Game of the Year podcast. Interesting year for games.
Yeah.
And it always means a different thing. This year, like I feel like it's kind of like a repeat of like 2014, where I think like
Really?
there wasn't this like true game of the year winner. I think there is, but like I don't think I think a lot of people had a lot of trouble coming to terms with that Astrobot was their game of the year. Even I did. I didn't like be like, out of those top three, Astrobot won it for me. Right. I liked Astrobot. I understand why I won game of the year, and I agree with it. But like, I don't know if it's my game of the year for some reasons. Like where it has narrative, but it tells it in a very different way from, say, your Indiana Jones your, your other games like that, where the narrative is just more stereotypical.
Sure.
But I think there are a lot of great games this year. I think, I think there's a lot of different games for a lot of different people here, which is great. And it's not just we're talking about The Last of Us and Final Fantasy VII Remake, like, that 1 year where it was just like 2 or 3 games took it all the way,
So, and that's the thing, I guess, where I think this is like leagues above 2014 in the way of just like, we got so much, like, and that I think it's almost tough to find the standout. And maybe it's that way too also because everything's maybe a little bit more even for us. Like everything felt kind of similar quality wise where certain things weren't standing out.
I guess that's what I mean to say.
Right.
Everything feels like very similar level of
like
quality,
enjoyment
which
and
is
quality. Yeah.
Good, but there's nothing that like, I don't know. Nothing this year really blew my mind to a point where like it took the spot.
For sure.
I gave it a spot.
Definitely. I think this year was much stronger than I thought it was going to be initially. And I do think that there is like this sentiment online, how real or fake it is up for debate, where it's like this year sucked or like we didn't get anything this year or like blah, blah, blah. Like I can't disagree with that. I can't agree with that. We got so many fantastic games this year. I mean, the first party output wasn't amazing. I think Xbox actually ended up shitting on Sony. Yeah, and from what we're getting now, like,
and I think 2025 is going to be a big year for Xbox too.
I think so too. So like, I'm very excited to see that. I think that's fantastic. I would like to see more from Sony personally. I think that's where the real lackluster aspect was. But I mean, with all these cancellations, man, we're probably not going to see a lot out of them this generation, which is unfortunate.
And we'll see what Switch 2 does. I mean, I know we didn't talk about that necessarily on this podcast, but we're definitely going to be a Let's Talk About Nintendo Switch 2 podcast when they do the reveal. Right. When we all that information, the hat's coming off.
Yeah, the hat's coming off.
He's revealed.
I am revealed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that because we don't talk about Nintendo a lot, but this is like when Switch 2 came out, I don't even know. I don't think DNN was definitely not either. I just started when the Switch 2 came out or a little bit before. We may have been doing Everything Entertainment when the Switch 1 was revealed.
I'm trying to think when it was revealed.
I don't know.
Yeah,
it came out in like 2016?
Then that was probably like just before we started.
Switch 1 launch. No way. 2017. Yeah. At the end of college. Yeah. What?
That's wild.
That's a weird world we live in. That's crazy. But anyway.
That's insane.
I'm looking forward to talking about games with you, Trio, in 2025.
Absolutely. Migraineless, hopefully.
Yeah.
No, this was great, Gooch. This was a lot of fun. I liked all these questions. I'm glad we got some write-ins and stuff. That was it, right? Was there any other questions?
That's it.
Fantastic. But yeah, great time. Thank you all so much for writing in, participating. We really do appreciate it. If you could like, comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend about us. That's a big deal. It really does help us out. But we do appreciate you being here with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search our name on your favorite service of choice. We got a Facebook page, a Discord channel, all that good stuff will be linked down below. We're on all the social medias as well at Delco Nerds on basically everything. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to delconerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. All this information can be found at our website, delconerdnetwork.com. But for Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.